Okay, what is good, people? Um, yep. So tonight is a very interesting live for me. It's a little out of what I normally would do, but I'm just uh I'm just winging it, guys. Just winging it. So um yeah, welcome and enjoy the show. Let's get to it.
Sitting on the building where after
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
Bro,
no, I know. Look, I need to
some
do a
people's
follow-up
idols are
call.
going to die tonight. If people would take the time to learn business associations and who these people actually are affiliated with, they would find out that there is a lot of controlled opposition that is yoked in covenant and sexual union to the very people that they're masquerading, that they're fighting behind the scenes. A lot of these people are in the belly of the beast and they're fighting and weaponizing the resistance force only to control it to its demise. You have to know them by their fruits, you guys. You have to be so careful to carefully examine each and every one of these people and who it is that they do their dirty deeds with to understand that some of them are incredibly in bed with the worst kinds of people.
This is wargaming.
Yeah.
How critical in politics, in business, in war, wargaming is so much
It's
of
everything. It's everything. You know, I mean, the whole idea about planning. You know, you got to plan, and then once the first shot is fired, you know, all plans go to hell. But as long as you have thought through these things,
You looked at all the angles.
Exactly. So you know, a little, 30 seconds on my background. My background is a person who primarily in the intelligence world, where I always had to put my feet into the boots of our enemy and think like them. So that means I had to study their doctrine. I had to study their formations. I had to study their strengths, their weaknesses, all these different things. Because when I came in front of our commanders and in front of the commanders that I worked for over the years, they were going to ask me, well, what is the enemy thinking? What is the enemy going to do? What are they going to do? Because we have to plan our strategy around it, right? So I always tell people, if I can think it, they can think it. And they have people on their team that are smart, shrewd, savvy. They're strategic. And they are evil.
What's up, everybody? It's Debo Masan, the Digital Samurai for Truth. Gonna try to talk fast in this one, go hard. Another painfully beautiful production. This is Digital Samurai News. General Stanley McChrystal and General Michael Flynn, controlled opposition exposed by Nathan Reynolds and Gray Area Monarch. Know them by their fruits. I don't care if General Flynn tickles your ears with all the things you want to hear, if he pulls you into the psyop of trying to get you to believe that he is fighting the good fight against evil. Satanism inverts everything. Flip it upside down. We're going to see all kinds of material in this one, so I want to get right to it. Nathan Reynolds has been really hitting it hard. Gray Area Monarch, I've covered Gray before. He's the man, and I'm going to bring him back into this. We're not messing around. It's like, what general have you ever seen coming from the military is like jumping out in front of so many, whether it's media, getting involved with certain personalities, especially here in this truther community. Heck, it might really go back to Aquino, since we've seen someone be so publicly out there coming from the military and pushing such an agenda. We just watched a video where Sabrina Wallace is ripping his ass. It's like, why do all roads lead to Flynn? Reawaken tours connected to Charlie Ward. We've seen him intermingling with all these different people. He has his own little way where he hijacked the Q movement, put on his digital soldiers. Now he's separated himself from that. He's also separated himself from the Trump CIC conversation, even though, as I've covered on this channel, he is in every single one of these pockets. He's connected to all these players. He has control of the entire game board. Now, I think it goes beyond Flynn, and we're going to get into that. What's above Flynn? Who else is using Flynn as a puppet? Well, we got into McChrystal a little bit here, but we're going to get into more material. where this is where people have to pay attention, because it doesn't matter what they say. You will know them by their fruits. Please realize that I put all the links down below these videos, so you'll have more access to certain content. Some moves a little bit quickly on the screen. I get that, so I'm gonna have to pause. These Rumble commercials being put into the videos now is kind of driving me nuts, but it is what it is. But some of these guys, like Nathan and Gray, they are not playing around anymore. Gray comes in more recently and says, how many cowards that support at General Flynn can't even ask him fair questions about valid concerns? All of them. I wonder why. Not. You are all pathetic and deserve what you get when this all plays out. It's getting close, too. Some of you will cry and try to weasel out of responsibility and accountability. Maybe most. Some won't even have the chance. Make arrangements, you pieces of dog shit. These guys have seen enough. They've been involved in some of these projects. They know what's happening that most of us have no clue about, but we're going to get a taste of it right now from Nathan Reynolds. I've been putting these pieces together. I've got links down below. Pause if you need to read something that's on the screen. But a lot of this is going to be covered in depth so that it gets absorbed, so that you understand what's at play behind some of these guys like Flynn and McChrystal. But let's hear from Nathan, some of his personal experience and the hardships that he's gone through, the things that he's witnessed, and what happened to bring them to today.
I grew up in the desert, and a lot of it's the worst stuff. And we're literally like a few days away from the solstice. Those of you guys that are watching this now or later. And it's a hard season for me, man. I watched a lot of people die horrifically in this season throughout my life. And I also had very wonderful, victorious moments at this time of year. But it's really hard to articulate that to your little 4-year-old when she's like trying to pick up chicken eggs and she's cracking eggs and you're just trying to be a dad. But like, it's still there. It's not like my mind doesn't lose much. It's all there, and it's just, there's a lot of guys sitting here trying to figure out how to navigate fatherhood with that burden on their shoulders. There's a lot of people who killed their battle buddy in combat on purpose because he was screaming bloody murder and lost his mind and was going to give away their position, and they had to kill him. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of horrific things, a lot of gals that do a lot of horrific things that they never talk about again, and it ruins their lives. And I am 100% convinced that freedom comes through the power of confession. And it doesn't have to be to a priest guy, creepy manipulator in an office somewhere. The power of confession is the source of deliverance. I'm 100% certain of it. That is what has set me free. And so that's why I have set my mind to tell these things that have been so costly for so many, for so long. And you know what? I believe the Father can protect me however he sees fit. I am at his disposal, and I trust he's a good father. And you know what? That's why I talk about this stuff, because there's a lot of guys who get recruited into these projects and they think they're going into a secret scientific group. And that sounds great. They're like, I finally get to do the research that I want to do, and I finally have the tools to do it. And then they develop something that is 100% evil, and they have no say in the matter. And I just wanted, like you and I were talking earlier, I wanted autonomy. At the end of the day, I didn't know what it was I was really looking for throughout all of my life, but I was looking for freedom. I was on a quest for freedom. I thought vengeance was the gates of freedom. And I learned, or the key to unlock the gates of freedom. But I learned that vengeance was a tool that can be manipulated by the guys who are your prison and boss, right? Just as easily as it can by the guy who's trying to save the world. And when I got into Fort Lee, Virginia, which is where my advanced training took place.
Your workflow is important to us. Please wait indefinitely.
With Monday.com's intuitive work management platform,
I had a family member as my drill sergeant. Okay. And this is a Reynolds family. And he's an East Coast Empire guy. And that's when I finally got the opportunity to join up with the Lobos and this team that had happened earlier on, who had shown me this cool way of doing bag and tag 'em. And I finally got this opportunity to join this team. And these are guys, I was not a Delta Force operator. I was not on paper anywhere a special forces guy. I was a nobody nomad in the Army. And I bounced around from unit to unit. And that was the cover that you use, because you don't want to put it on your resume, spy.
Yeah.
But you need to know that about 8 out of every 10 military units in our United States military is infested with spies.
So if you know that, you better figure out a way to build your own spy army to deal with that. And that's why the Jason projects on that side of it existed, because that's the scientific realm of a lot of corporate espionage. And then you have all these guys that you need, which are field assets, which are the guys that are the door kickers. And so they bridge that gap out there in Virginia. And I started doing wet work for the United States military.
What does that mean, wet work?
Strategic eliminations, killing people, and like we talked about earlier, some of that is accidental deaths, looking like accidental deaths, just overdosing with too much potassium. So it looks like a heart attack, something that's not generally detectable. You're injecting people between their toes and smothering their faces, There's a lot of that. Then there's a lot of stuff that just involves good old fashioned blade work. And that's all that was my thing. I didn't care to kill people from far away. I wanted to be on them. I understood the intimacy of killing is 100% an intimate act. And when you take a life, there's nothing, the act of having relations with your wife is an act where it can create life, and taking a life is just as intimate. And you get to know people very authentically in their final moments of life. And you can find out all kinds of things about people. And that's what I started doing a lot of, very full time, all at once when I got out to Fort Lee, Virginia. And that involved a lot of the areas in Norfolk and Washington, D.C. and the Beltway. And some of that stuff popped up on papers, and that's when things got real scary, real fast, because I started realizing that a lot of these things, I think I'm going after a guy who abuses children, doing a ring roundup. And you go into a house, man, that has children on parade, and you're there in a suit and tie, and you've got to look the part and act the part. And you've got these bleed throughs of what's the past and what's the present. And now I'm the guy with the gun. And now I get to have some fun, but you're not allowed to. And this is the perversion inside the United States military, is that what you don't know is that you're coming in there to take out somebody, and you're in a house full of these perverts, but
they're not the mission.
Full of them. And you're
So I just want to pause it there just for a second. Imagine, let me put this up there. Sorry about that. Imagine this is your job, your full-time job, right? And you are going into these child trafficking rings, and it ends up being senators and military sergeants or generals, right? And you have to know that you're there to do a job, but yet it's only for one person. But you see these people on TV, and he's going to go into that a little bit more. I just wanted to, press that one topic and try to imagine being in this guy's shoes, right? Well, anyway, let's get back into it. He's going to tie it into these generals very quickly, and how he did work through the government military, not on paper, kind of trying to get to the bottom of these things, but the people that you're employed through are also involved in it. And they don't know particularly who you are, but you're there in suit and tie like them, dressed the part. This is like some James Bond type shit, really. But anyway, I'm not going to make it too fantastical. I just wanted to point that out. Let's get back to it, though. All right, here we go.
You have to masquerade like one of them, and you're not allowed to touch any of them. And you're looking at commanders of field battalions. You're looking at politicians who you can identify on the television. You're looking at people that are readily recognized public figures, and you're not allowed to touch any of them. And this is what that broke me. This one mission going after this guy called Mr. Blue, and I've shared this before publicly, so whatever. But like that estate, infiltrating that estate and getting into that building and seeing the people in this house who have built a room, concrete, the entire room, floor to ceiling, floor floor to stadium seating and drain panels, and to see millions of dollars of infrastructure put in for this, that was new to me. I'd seen a lot of home economics versions of this stuff. I had never seen it scaled up to someone's like massive estate style version of it. And then seeing people that have all the ability to shut this stuff down, they're there. And that just ruined me, because I'm going in to do this extraction on a guy. I have to bring him out alive. And he is, can I say it now? Like, can I be more authentic on this one? He is skinning a boy alive with a bone grafting tool when I found him. And then I have to get that guy out. So I have to give him a certain type of drug, which is derived from a certain tree in Brazil that makes somebody do anything you want. And he walks out of there as my best friend, and I drive his car out. And then I take him back to a house where we do all the dirty to get out our information that we want to. I turn him over to a guy that does that for a living, who has his big why, because somebody did that to his children when he was young. Game on. And so that's all he does. He just interrogates people. That's what we say. Tortures them. Tortures that man to death. That was my job at 18 years old. That's what I was doing, my summer vacation. And then I'm supposed to go out to this normal world. And you see these people, like, I see their faces, and then I see them being aggrandized as the heroes of the world. These are rulers. These are the best people that are in charge of the counter child trafficking networks. And I'm like, these are the perverts of justice, man. And it tweaked me bad, because once I'll dig, and I'm going to dig until I find the answers. I have an insatiable need to know, and I'm going to find out the absolute root of a man. I will find out the deepest, darkest secrets of every person I ever interact with. And I am 100% certain whether or not that person is who they say they are, or if there's something else there. And once I find that out, and if you are inconsistent with what you portray to the masses and who you are at the heart of yourself, I'm going to find it out, man, because that's duplicity, and that's hypocrisy. And that's the leaven of the Pharisees that is destructive to all nation states. That's exactly the tactics that have destroyed empires forever, is subterfuge from the inside. And that's what we got inside this house of cards, is a nest full of these disgusting serpent eaters. And you know what? I couldn't stand it. And I hated it so bad, man. And I started disobeying. And as soon as you get an asset out of containment, I was at Fort Bragg briefly for a rendezvous. I was driven from Fort Lee, Virginia down there. They have these cheap taxis that they drove me down there. And I saw some of these generals who were in charge of these special operations projects, and I was disrespectful to one of them. And that was it. They pulled me off the projects. He nuked me off the team so fast. General McChrystal. He was in charge of Special Operations Command at the time. I had no idea who he was. He was in a suit. I didn't know who the heck this guy was. I was watching the little festival of guys fighting each other in the pit. This is how they do like X-Class. They want to test out a weapon system. They want to test it out between two guys. Let me make them fight to the death. And then they try to prove which one's better, And I've been doing that since I was a child. These sycophantic, like, this is a pit fight. These guys are like the most powerful people in the world, and you're going to do this kind of crap? Like, what a wasted life, I utterly loathe it. And I was so enraged after the fact, and I disrespected him, and I shrugged him off, and I basically snarled at him. And they're like, you're done. You're never on the teams again. You're never going to touch any of this. They washed me out of the military so fast, made my head spin, bro. Because as soon as you show a guy like this is not controllable, you either kill them instantly or you get the heck away from them as fast as you can. And that's what happened, man. They washed me out so hard, so fast, man, and tried to eradicate me out of that industry.
Wow. Stuff's intense, man. You just heard more from Nathan there, talking about his story leading up to that horrific encounter with McChrystal. He's talking about 8 out of 10 military units infiltrated by spies, giving you the in-depth look of how this corruption is so prolific. When I'm talking about Flynn having his hand on all this game board, I'm talking mostly about the media, because it's been said, control the media, control the mind. Where the head goes, the body follows. There's a lot of people that believe that Trump has all the cards, that he's going to take out Flynn and all this is going to be no big deal. What you're seeing there, that Flynn's pretty confident. Maybe it's that pride before the fall. But at the same time, these guys really seem to have a very vast control of the game board with the podcasters. They're all grifting off of us, controlling our attention spans and our mind, our time, and our money. They've got an upper hand until we break free from this. More people become aware of the McChrystals and the Flynns and the operations that are for your mind war, the psyops that are being played out. Because if they control our mind, we can't break free of this matrix. Hold on to what you believe as far as Trump and the good guys and all this stuff, because in this next segment with Nathan, he does bring up, as he goes into the clandestine groups, and you can catch more of the episode in links down below, about how they operate here on American soil and across the world, and the ways that they've gained blackmail over American soldiers. But a really great thing is that he talks about a group wanting to break free from that and push back on the hierarchy. Check this out.
Well, during the advancement after 9/11 and during the war in Iraq, the United States military, under that kind of covert arm of Title 50-2, began to procure this Scorpion project, and they began to recruit dissidents, right? Terrorists to join this, criminals out of criminal organizations to join the Scorpion Brigade. And these were, the title of this was called DB Anabasis. This is something you can look up for yourself. By that, it used to be deep classified, deep black, but I'm not revealing anything that's now not publicly readily findable information. But DB Anabasis was governed by John McGuire and Louis Guardia. And they began to train these individuals at Area 51, like the actual place, Area 51, not some kind of ethereal, place, like a real place where they do covert operations. They began to train them to be these state assets so that when they shipped them back to be splinter cell assassin special kill teams over in Iraq, they would follow orders. The big problem within these organizations is that most of these people were into male rape. Super critical piece of that most Americans are not aware of about Middle Eastern culture is the amount of pedophilia and male-on-male rape that takes place in that. And anybody who spent any time over there who got to see that understands that it was completely concealed from the massive population, the amount of pedophilia and the amount of boy-on-boy man love and man rape that took place under the IDF, like the actual security alliance that the United States military put forth in Afghanistan and also in Iraq, that we had such a hard time keeping our soldiers that we were, in search, guys that were like local on-the-ground assets, from raping each other and being high on opium all the time. And it led to constant problems and strain. And yet that was buried and obfuscated until 2018, when finally the United States military admitted, yeah, we had tons of cover-up of a lot of child pedophilia and a lot of child pornography production that was going on overseas, because that same material was being used to blackmail and control the United States soldiers, special operations soldiers, and people that were ground assets for these paramilitary organizations. They got compromised, many of them, because they witnessed these things, or they began to kill pedophiles, and then they were getting in trouble. And so this led to a long series of a chain of events where individuals inside the military began an insurrection, a quiet insurrection at that, to try to overthrow and eliminate the hierarchy that was facilitating these child trafficking rings and organizations. One of the key teams in that was Team Orange and the Lobos team. This is United States Army talk specifically about Team Orange. The United States Army had a few teams of assets that were trying to resist this and try to go on strike missions to kill, execute. We had different phrases like find, fix, and finish. There's lots of different nomenclatures for how you can take direct actions. Others terms are things like wet works, right? Being judge, jury, and executioner, so that you could be a singleton killer out there and operate outside of the normal governing binds to commit what's called democide, killing of state citizens. And that's where I got brought in 2007 into Fort Lee, Virginia, as the place where a lot of this brigade command and control was being coordinated out of. That was where I had these interactions like we talked about previously on being given mission directives to infiltrate pedophilia gangs and child sex trafficking rings that were centered predominantly in Alexandria, Virginia. Those interactions of what I had out there is what got me connected to General Stanley McChrystal, General Michael Flynn, as he later became the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, people who have more than enough substantive evidence on actual horrific child human exploitation rings and campaigns that are holding that information in and refusing to disclose that to the public for reasons of personal and national security, because it would black eye so many of the powerful rulers of our society. And I'm not just talking about politicians and judges and magistrates and military leaders, but I'm also talking about the very people in the corporate clientele list, the people that are running and ruling much of the financial donor and lobbying campaigns. That those black books are held by individuals like that and are used as blackmail and coercion and control in order to keep the truth from ever coming out. But the most dangerous thing in the world, is what I have learned, is men of integrity who speak the truth regardless of the consequences, who are willing to set aside secrecy clauses for the sake of bringing forth the truth and guarding the sheep from what is absolutely treasonous traitors and chameleons masquerading as heroes in our midst.
We got chameleons and treasonous traitors masquerading as heroes to keep the truth from ever coming out. Like you see on the screen here, I've been covering at length on this channel. Blackmail is the currency. And we're hearing from Nathan, and we're about to hear from Gray, about how guys like General Michael Flynn know way more than they'll ever let on. And then think about the Flynn network, the podcasting network, control the media, control the mind, the integration that they've made into the alternative media in order to know exactly what we're thinking. So you talk about wargaming, like he was talking about with Alex Jones earlier on in this episode. They know exactly how we think. They'll say the exact things that we want to hear. So they capitalize on every disaster or breaking news story. Talking about the hurricane here, General Flynn coming in. If you're a believer, now is the time to pray. There are biblical levels of events occurring worldwide. And we're going to find from Mr. Seven Rays that he doesn't align with a lot of our biblical views. But then Vandersteel taking the opportunity to come in and say things like, I'm committed to helping all souls discarded by their federal government. We need the world's general to lead. This is coming from somebody that was literally in the Capitol on January 6th. Many people were that are connected to Michael Flynn, and putting the idea of the world's general into people's minds. These people influence tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to millions when it reaches out to the whole network. And it's a case of if you lead, they will follow. They're ready to take direction and execute. Napalm, the militia, J6 on a nationwide scale. Think about these things. And earlier on, I showed P. Diddy on the screen. Because I'm telling you, they'll act like they want to fight the same things that we want justice for. Maxwell, Epstein, Diddy, the blackmail, pedophile rings. When they know darn well what's really going on in this world. You're talking about American soldiers being caught up in this blackmail to hold power over them by these kinds of corrupt generals. These are the things that we need to be aware of, because they know way more than they'll ever lead on to. But if they can pretend to be our heroes, they can cap the truth, gatekeep it, and stop us from ever finding what would really change humanity. It would cause a lot of chaos, but that would be the transition worth making for doing the right thing and being people of integrity, like Nathan is talking about. People willing to speak the truth regardless of the consequences. So now I'm going to let Nathan introduce Gray, where he tells his story about how he intersected with this man along his painfully beautiful journey.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all,
That's
All right, all right. So I'm going to get back to it shortly. I just wanted to come over to the comments, say what's up to everyone. I appreciate y'all being here. Plain and simple truth. What is good, brother? Mr. Super Sidewinder, as always, it's a pleasure, brother. I'm just putting this info out there because I feel that if we don't break this chain, right, of not giving these people, even though it's a hard truth, the real truth, right? Now, I've always known that there was a second constitution, right? it was a republic. Then they introduced, after we owed all the banks the money after the Revolutionary War, 18, and then the Organic Act of 1871 came in, right? We knew the military basically was in bed with the banks since then, at least since then, right? Now, with modern day military, right, we know the real military are the NGOs, right? We are only citizens, right? So-called quote unquote citizens that join these, gung-ho leaders that are extra charismatic, right? And our young people are pulled into these wars that are fought for the ones that are, problem reaction solution or problem, problem, then the solution, then the reaction. So, I mean, we need to get somehow the young minds involved with being more proactive in what we want for them in the future, right? So we need people my age and a little older that I think see it for what it is in this country, which we say country all day or Americans, but let's be real. Every president is Jewish, right? So it's not really America, the country, like as in the people represent the actual country. They make us feel as if we're a part of this group that should control the borders, right? And remain in power, quote unquote. So, it's this patriotic rant that we hear all the time, but what is it really? Who really are the people that run what we would say, or most people recognize themselves as, like the sheeple, basically the non-player characters, if you want. People, want to feel as if they represent something that they're told they are. When, I mean, let's be real, like it's all falling apart at the seams. And if we're not careful, the seams will bust wide open and we're a lost cause, right? I seem to think that things like this, hearing from people like this that have seen it and know that there's a way around it, then we need to be inspiring people to not follow those people, but hear the message, right? And try to wrap your mind around, hey, maybe everything isn't what I've been taught, right? Well, anyway, let's get back at it. Appreciate you guys for being here, man. Much love. And yep, I'm gonna take my big head off the screen. And we can get back to it. Okay, here we go. Let me mute up because I'm loud as shit. All right, guys.
In outside of Fort Campbell, near the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, that's called Hunter's Field, and it was a air base, but in a field, so not towered, not known, and it's where special operations groups would be able to go in and out of to do different training exercises. And one of these field assets, a guy kind of like me, different background and story, but like me, lived there with dogs that were not dogs, wolves, like actual wolves, like not the dogmen, kind of just wolves. And they would run operations. And when I was in basic combat training, got taken from Fort Knox, Kentucky, out to this middle of nowhere cornfield in near the Fort Campbell area, and it was Hunter's Field. And they would have a maze, a gauntlet that they would set up to do simulated training experiences, but they would release the wolves into it while you're running in this what you think is like another training house, kill house kind of scenario, and you got to rescue a hostage, or you got to take somebody out, or you got to extract somebody. And then there's suddenly stinking wolves in there.
Woo-wee. Yeah, some stinking wolves in there. When you hear Nathan talking about guys in the military willing to push back against the hierarchy and people with integrity willing to speak the truth regardless of consequences, here we are. Both Nathan and Gray here doing that very thing. And Gray coming in and saying, Do y'all know what's coming? Nathan's firing things up, isn't he? Wink, wink. So number one, I'll have this on the screen as well, but Nathan Reynolds, aka Joshua Killo, on Hunter's Field, Gray Wolf in 2007. 2 is Gene Dios, Chip Tatum, confirming Hunter's Field in 2014. Elaborated here. So I'll have these links down below for you guys to have more access to them. I'm focused more on Stanley McChrystal and Flynn for this one, but look into his background for yourself. So you can check out this Gene Dios, Chip Tatum we'll have on the screen there. Number 3 is Gray Wolf at Ed Hunter Field, Ring Farm in 2007. Number 4, Gray Wolf mugshot in 2008 after waging war against the corrupt conglomerate of cowards. I only show who's already in the public. I only discuss locations that have been compromised and that were involved with corruption. I'm reasonably sensible and responsible, despite what the perpetrators are dying for you to believe. And he's kind of got a little sense of humor. Once you get into Gray, you'll appreciate his sense of humor. Do you know how many men are ready to come forward pending a conducive environment? And I think that's what it's all about. More of us getting on the same wavelength of allowing for an environment where whistleblowers can come forward, people that have probably been involved in some really tough stuff. I mean, you heard some of Nathan's story where he was literally an assassin, Gray being involved in a lot of these projects. We've got to create an environment that is welcoming to at least hear people out if they want to do the right thing. So I worked adjacent to McChrystal and Flynn, running highly compartmentalized domestic kill teams / hit squads, training with DIA, JSOC, etc., and dealt with a lot of misuse of special forces / mission units for personal favors, corrupt agendas, controlling human / drug / weapon trafficking rings, etc. The very things that we are trying to fight in this movement, or say we're fighting in this movement. Don't listen to these talking heads that are making tons of money while all this is still going on. I'm telling you, it's up to we the people. A lot of this is woven into classified programs that either do a bare minimum and or conduct mini psyops with terrorist / pedo snuff type scenario videos, etc., to convince the limited oversight to sign off if they themselves weren't complicit. The lines get blurry. It's the good old boys club having their way at the end of the day. And guys like Flynn, they're fighting for a cause. There's probably factions at war right now. They probably think they're doing the good fight. But when we match it up to what is good for humanity and we the people, I think you'll find that those things do not align. McChrystal especially is scum, and Flynn is not who people think he is at all. At all. This goes far beyond my direct experience to many associates experience much more recently. Understand that due to the highly compartmentalized sensitive issues they were involved with, they had / have to be the ones to steer certain online information / misinformation / disinformation, etc. Only the ones in the loop know the exact parameters that need to be navigated. Flynn is running a net campaign, PR in the front and business as usual out of the back. It looks like the men who have made the real sacrifices are going to have to step up yet again. At General Flynn, you will be held accountable publicly. Some of the guys from the teams have had enough, to say the least. Buckle up. And so that's what introduced us into Gray here. And I've been sharing these on the screen as Gray was talking. I want to get into what he's replying to here by Jessica Rojas, American woman, mother and critical thinker, conspiracy realist, libertarian, less government, more freedom, was sharing that came from some of the material that we've already been sharing that concerns Nathan's breakdown of what's going on here on the SGT report. Former operative for the deep state shares some disturbing details. A must listen. Let's check it out.
For those of you that just want to understand, there was an operation that I had to do under General Stanley McChrystal's orders. He was the commander for the Joint Special Operations Command in Fort Bragg, North Carolina at the time. He was the head of special operations, SOF units, including Delta operatives and including what are called other government organizations. They started working hand in hand in order to try to advance him into a political seat of power into the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of State. He was hobnobbing and brown-nosing his way into that industry. Along the way to do that was eliminating political dissidents of state assets here in the United States. He was killing people off through his hitmen. Okay.
Is there a Michael Hastings connection here?
We're going to get into something.
The Rolling Stone whistleblower, the Rolling Stone reporter.
we're going to go real deep into that if you would like, because there's some people and change agents that I was a part of and did operations for, specifically under the direction of McChrystal, operating out of Alexandria, Virginia at the time, a place where he later in 2014 set up a private LLC. This is after he fast tracked. I've got to go back. Sorry. I got to back you up in the timeline here for a second, because we got to talk about the private consultation groups of what General McChrystal founded and what Michael Flynn and some of the other operatives that passed a lot of the disinformation financing campaign to silence truthers, to infiltrate truthing communities, to create and finance all the bots behind the scenes and weaponize the NSA, that all of these different agencies to go after and censor people that were bringing forth the truth, to censor whistleblowers. This all had its origins back when I was in the United States Army.
Okay. So there is a branch of DARPA, and I'm gonna just show you that real quick here. Hey Lev, what's up, buddy? Thank you for being here, man. Yeah, so basically, what he was just mentioning about infiltrating, truthers and stuff like this. So there is definitely a campaign for that, and specifically, DARPA has something called the SMISC. Now, I just made a post the other day. Let me see where I'm at here. And I just want to bring that up real quick, just so you guys can go and look at it. It was an acronym that I just gave you, but let me go back down here. Where would my post be? That would be over here. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to get over to, so I can show you personally, what I'm mentioning. Okay, let's go down here. And is that too far? There it is right here. I'm just going to pull this up real quick so you guys know what I'm speaking of. Oh. Okay, right here. So SMISC, Social Media and Strategic Communication. This is a program. There is a summary. I will just let y'all make that bigger. Well, I could probably make it bigger. Let's see. And I can read out to you. Okay, so with the spread of blogs, social networking sites, and media sharing technology, and the rapid propagation of ideas enabled by these advances, the conditions under which the nation's military forces conduct operations are changing nearly as fast as the speed of thought. DARPA has an interest in addressing this new dynamic, right, is what they were speaking of here. This new dynamic is they're overrun with people speaking out, right? So they're just trying to understand how social networking and communication affects events on the ground as part of the mission of prevention. So they want to prevent. So they basically want to prevent us from calling them out. So they are trying to now combat that, right? Yeah. What do y'all think about that? That's crazy, huh? So anyway, we'll get back to it, but I just wanted to point that out, check into that, because they give us what they are. Uh-oh, you say it's not screen sharing? Lev? Oh, damn it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm being goofy. Yeah, let me just show you where I was at here. This right here. It should be shared now, Lev. DARPA's here is SMISC, Social Media and Strategic Communication. Let me make it bigger one more time where we can read that just a little bit. There, this is what I was reading from. Here, they just give us they're giving us enough clues, right? They're just banking on people, enough people not really looking into this deep enough. So this is how they are combating us, right? With like J Trig and stuff like that, like crisis actors for hire, so on and so forth. But here we go. That should have been okay. Cool, sharing. All right. So, but yeah, we'll get back to it. I'm gonna minimize my big head here and just put it on full screen. Okay, let's get back to it, man.
Army in 2007, I went on an operation given to me by General McChrystal to go in to agents in the judicial community of the United States who were doing sting operations on whistleblowers. These FBI agents were dirty, very dirty. And they were planting child pornography on hard drives of whistleblowers so they could discredit them and throw them into prison. That's what they were doing under the orders and under the command of the head of the FBI. Covertly, abstractly, through a cutout. Okay, this is somebody who doesn't know the job, who doesn't know A and doesn't know B, but is just a cutout who passes on orders. These FBI agents.
I just want to back you up.
Absolutely.
Cheryl Atkinson has blown the whistle on this and testified that this is the case, that she was basically threatened. If she didn't shut up, they're going to find child porn on her husband's computer.
It's exactly how it works. This is exactly how they eliminate people. Character. This is character assassination. Please understand. This is all in the lieu of psychological operations. That's based. The head of psychological operations is at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. They've changed their name, of course, because they're always masquerading. But listen, that head of psychological operations are the people who have the propaganda presses to put out materials like this and tell you guys, underworld operators, how to dismantle countries from within. These are the people that were willing to bend over physically and literally do anything to anybody in order to climb their way to the top. They do all the dirty trickster stuff. This is how they deal with dissidents. And they would do it for people like the area of the network that I was investigating at the time was going on in Maryland at Indian Head. There's a naval experimental. It's one of the biggest naval operations stations in the entire country. Most important critical infrastructure that helps to develop secret weapons predominantly. There's a lot of spies coming in and out of that. Well, one of those people was somebody who had discovered a weapon system that was being deployed against the American populace. This specific weapon system that was being deployed was physically designed to engineer retroviruses to kill genetic markers of people and to protect those that didn't have those genetic markers. They had taken that information and smuggled it out and were trying to work with a journalist to bring it forward. The way that the FBI, when they found out about this, they sucked their dirty tricksters onto them and were putting child porn onto them. The reason they popped up onto my radar was because I was at a meeting covertly where the child pornography was being paid for and purchased. I was there plain clothes, posing as a very different buyer of that in order to ascertain evidence for it. When that deal went down, then those guys got marked in my world for strategic eliminations, for killing. However, I was ordered, instead of killing them, to follow them and to tail them and to figure out who the customer really was and see if I could run up the ring another ring or two, run it up a little bit higher. What it led me to, however, was then planting that on a whistleblower's hard drive. That's when the whole entire case shifted for me, and General McChrystal ordered a stand-down order so that that evidence could get planted on that whistleblower's hard drive first. Then I was supposed to eliminate the buyers. That's where it gets really disgusting and messy, because rather than killing the whistleblower, rather than killing the journalist, they're weaponizing these information agents to do that stuff for you. Okay, my side of it was to eliminate the perverts of justice all along the way. Because when I start to see that, I start to connect the dots and see what's actually going on here. And this is the stuff that absolutely destroyed and ruined my faith in the United States military at the time. Because the people that were in the position of power most effectively to stop it were facilitating all the evil. And they got promoted. He got promoted. General Stanley McChrystal got fast-tracked to the White House. He got fast-tracked to the United Nations. He's a Council on Foreign Relations member. He's in with the big club in his own way. And because of that, when he got out of the military and everyone bowed down to him and gave him reverence and cheered him on for the hero that he wasn't, that man started a LLC, a consulting group that operated out of Alexandria, Virginia, the very brick and mortar physical house that myself and other secret clandestine operatives would go to get special kill team assignments for, to go and do these from. He put, this is all in the public, and you can see this in the public record. He purchased that house and began to operate special kill teams, wet workers, and as a corporate for hire. Instead of having to be associated with the military, he has a long black book of people he can call who will do these for whoever has the money, whoever has the political clout. He still operates that to this day. They've since closed down that facility because what they operated from there was manipulating lobbyists, manipulating politicians, blackmailing child exploitation rings. They coordinated that from there to pass the very legislation that has turned all of us off, that's silenced us, that's taken away our financial records, that's eliminated and destroyed us. That's those two men operated from there and launched intelligence operations in the forms of all kinds of truth or conspiracies, some that are obviously not true, some that are full of rotten, some that have some truth, and others that are controlling the opposition. They are well implanted in the opposition to control the narrative and silence those that are actually authentic within there. Those are some of the power breakers. That was some of my interactions with them. And I could and would testify about this in elaborate and details, however it sees fit, to anyone that actually has the willingness to see justice brought to the surface.
There is so much within that piece. There's so much in all of these that I'm sharing with you, but in that one alone, you hear about the technology and the genetic targeting. That might tie into something like the Sabrina Wallace is warning people about. But the gatekeeping of the truth, the controlled opposition to be your heroes that are just basically masquerading when they're really traitorous, treasonous bastards. This is coming from people that have direct experience in this. So when you're talking about all of these podcasters and stuff connected into the Reawaken tours and that are basically handled by people like Flynn because they get the connection to his network, the praise, and podcast shows that they can do with people like Vandersteel, Pete Santilli, and the people that we saw earlier that were on Napalm, connected into guys like Stu Peters, and all these people that can blow up your platform and make you the money. Money is the root of all evil. It really is. But that stuff that Nathan just laid out there is some of the biggest in this whole production that I'm doing here today. So please make sure you go back and check stuff out. But let's hear a little bit more from Gray here. Listen to Nathan for the lead-in. Now understand that the known corrupt former OSS, John Jack K. Singlob, was named by Gene Dios Chip Tatum in his infamous Boss Hog whistleblowing list amidst Iran-Contra scandals. Singlob was a founder of the CIA and of America's Future, which was handed off to corrupted/compromised Flynn, who still has deep ties to McChrystal, despite public appearances. The ties run deep, beyond the Irish mafia, beyond family, beyond the vested consulting interests, beyond monetary matters. Who are they working their way up to? Who are they trying to please? And like Nathan was saying, they're willing to do anything to move up the ladder. That's what we're about ready to get into. So sure, Flynn and McChrystal publicly parted ways and further covered the tracks on paperwork as well. But the ties and interests are aligned, and the actions/fruits reveal the true story, regardless of any pushed narrative or scoffs at questioning to Flynn. What are those deep ties? Fact is that Flynn was brought up, trained/conditioned, installed. ABD is still controlled/commanded through McChrystal and even his masters through Sovereign Military Order of Malta, SMOM, as well as other various globalist order agendas, which again were fast-tracked into the USA, especially through the OSS and Paperclip, generational crowd who brought up McChrystal and Flynn both. Now, don't get us started on the fact and Luce Flynn played with Pizzagate and QAnon. Pizzagate, Liz Crokin being tied to Flynn, being the gatekeeper of Pizzagate. They stop you from going any farther than them because they are your hero. They are on the front lines at the top of the list of knowing that information in the public's eye, because you have all of their little mockingbirds like Vandersteel, Santilli, and all these various characters in this Flynn network pointing to them as being the one to go to.
I have a question for you. Which one is the real me? Is it me or is it me? All right, yeah.
When it comes to these various topics, profiting off making fools of the people while offering false hope, solidifying his limited hangout PR operation / net campaign. Again, Pizzagate doesn't mean that all this stuff is false. Nathan was saying there, some of it is gross exaggerations, complete disinformation. Some of it is partial, and some of it is truths that they become the gatekeepers for, because you'll never hear Liz Crokin bringing up Richard Branson and his island and his connection into these power players. So Flynn even calls for the one religion and prays the 7 rays to the globalist gods. Like I was saying, when it breaks it down, Flynn will act like he's a Christian, and he goes into a Christian church and says the 7 rays, whatever you really want to call that thing. It's not a prayer. It's a channeled message. We're going to get into that. But for heaven's sake, pen your eyes and ears to who they really give allegiance to. This video right here is what opened the show. This was the video that I played at the very intro. So let's get into some of these things that we've already seen on the screen at various times. And we're going to have it shown to you one more time in the next piece that I'm going to share on Nathan. But this shows McChrystal tied in with Flynn. And McChrystal even doing stuff that would harm Trump. I got the full article down below. And in this one, showing where he's connected to this William J. Donovan at the OSS Society. The Director of Defense Intelligence Agency, Flynn, offering a toast to the Commander-in-Chief. Who does he really give his allegiance to? That's what we're getting into. The Knights of Malta controlled the OSS, Office of Strategic Services, through their papal knight, William Donovan. As you can see on the screen there, the OSS, United States Intelligence Services, during the World War II was a precursor to the CIA, which would later be established after the conclusion of World War II. You're going to see this, like I said, one more time coming up. I want to cover a little bit more of this. This is the long-established, well-documented, open secret of an agenda that Flynn truly serves. Ask him about his mentors, his familial and business connections, and his end goals. He is loyal to the Sovereign Military Order of Malta and various globalist orders' agendas. This is demonstrated by everything from his actions, his inactions, and even his literal prayers, 7 rays, re-Malta, from Oliver North, Iran-Contra, and FEMA/COG formation to Bush. No reminder needed. Back to Bill Donovan, OSS to CIA, and Alan Dulles, MKUltra, and many more. Malta initiates furthering globalist agenda is clearly an ongoing problem for America and humanity, period. And there it is. Pay attention to where you see this popping up. Right here, the Trilateral Commission, United Nations, Knights of Malta flowchart. 1, the UN Secretary, Kofi Annan, has a special advisor, Mr. Maurice Strong. United Nations building in New York is on land donated by the Rockefeller family in 1944. Mr. Maurice Strong is a very close friend of David Rockefeller, originator of the Trilateral Commission going back to 1973. The Rockefeller family did create the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, in 1919 to 1921. 3, the Washington Post, September 9th, 2000. PA-16, it looks like, UN photograph included Count Carlos Marullo di Condogliani, Grand Chancellor of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, the most ancient religious order of chivalry in Christendom, composed of secular knights and associates. Most of the men named herein are members of the Knights of Malta, including Dr. Pat Carone, established during the First Crusade in 1070. Pope Pascal II approved a new institution and placed it under the protection of the Holy See in 1113. The most venerable order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem is a British order of chivalry under the crown established in 1888. Some of this stuff, man, you got to do your research on, but we're pointing out enough stuff to get you started if you're looking in this area. Tying Flynn to the Knights of Malta, the Trilateral Commission, the Military Order of Malta, and the Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John did sign a concordant in 1963, and many members belong to both orders. So number 4 is photographed in Washington Post, was part of closing ceremony to World Parliament, given birth by UN, One World Government, i.e. the New World Order. New World Order with ties to most ancient religious order of chivalry in Christendom. Secularism, worldly rather than spiritual. The view that the consideration of the present well-being of mankind should predominate over religious consideration in civil affairs and public education. See where Flynn's allegiance really is. Bottom line, business over religion. Private business is government. Government over the people. Now there's a video here that I don't want to go through the whole thing of, but I'll scroll through it. Just, you'll have to pause the screen if you want to catch some of these names. You got the Bushes in here, the Rockefeller situation. I'll have links to this for anybody that is actually on X, but you should be able to catch most of it as I scroll through it. This just gives you more names that are connected to this thing. I think Giuliani was also in here. It's extensive. But once you start doing your research, I think more of it will start making sense. It's up to us. Look at that, Clarence Thomas, Opus Dei, U.S. Supreme Court, Scalia. This is how the secret societies rule the world. Then you find out who's actually in it for the people or who's just conducting business. And I'll leave this up on the screen so you can take a snapshot for yourself and look into more of these players. You'll find ones that kind of pop out like Frank Sinatra and stuff, which I've covered, connected to Bob Hope and some of the Bryce Taylor material and other various things that I've covered on this channel. The good old boys club, huh? Who's their allegiance really to? That's what it comes down to. And so this is going to be covered in this next segment, the 7 Rays prayer. And Nathan's going to cover that as he goes through some things that I think are very important as we start to wrap up here. But one more segment from Nathan, but I wanted to point out here, Admiral Flynn prays to the 7 Rays, to the globalist coward gods, raised by globalists, follows the footsteps of globalists. His pockets full, his promises empty. And I wanted to check this out real quick. In Blue Masonry and in the degree of the HRA, we call in the assistance of certain 7th ray angels to assist the officials in conducting the work of the lodge or chapter in this 18 degrees, and in other still higher degrees, we do that also. But the type of angels who respond is different. For each degree has its own kind of Deva attendant. It'd be interesting to talk to Casey and Jesse and Annie and some of these people that came from Gene, because he was all about these Deva and the Deva kingdom. In these cases, however, the support of the angelic kingdom is much more fully extended. Not only have we the aid of the Devas in the performance of our ceremonies, but to each prince of heirdom at the time of his perfection, a special angel is attached to help him in his private and individual work for the cause. This will be more readily comprehensible if I mention first the characteristics of the other degrees. So getting into the masonry here, it looks like, and
All right. Let me just come in here for 1 minute. So these people we are recognizing as, you know, having help from these entities, right? And we've known that for quite a while. You know, like he says, where does the allegiance lie? And who to, right, at these higher up levels? And I'm pretty sure it isn't good, right? If you have to get children rounded up and eat them, it's pretty fucking evil, right? But we know the energy that these people suck, like this, from the souls of those less fortunate, right, or that can't defend themselves. And this is where I would say the majority of missing children go, is to these types of people, right? To to serve these, to get what they want in this physical world, they have to get the assistance or do the bidding of, right? They're tied to these evil energies, let's say entities. And right, this is where and why this country is going to hell. Like, not just this country, but the world is in hell, it feels like. And everything is just out of order, right? It's not natural. It doesn't seem like the natural order of things are, and you know, I may turn people off by this kind of conversation, but if we don't talk about it, like if we don't get the point by now, it may get worse, right? So this is why I say people that are in the know should really try to start going in the direction of reversing it, right? And we're not too weak. We're not powerless in this, right? And I don't mean any offense, but I don't want to be non-proactive in trying to, you know, get the message out there and get things rolling, people's mindset in a different gear, right? And try to, you know, get rid of these people, man, whatever we need to do. But anyway, let's get back to it. I will put it back on stage and I'm going to mute up. I'll be right back. Appreciate everyone being here. And I hope y'all are learning something from this. This is something maybe new to some people. And if not, just share it out and see where it goes. You know, I appreciate it.
Some of the doctrine that goes with these globalists. There you go. Now I'm going to go into the final share that I have on Nathan, and then we'll start to wrap this up. I know it's a lot of information. God bless you all for being here. Let's catch this next segment.
Well, let me ask you then about Flynn. And before I ask you the question, is he as bad as McChrystal, who you and I talked about in the last conversation as having whacked Rolling Stone reporter Michael Hastings? That's my view on that situation. But we have the video of Geraldo Rivera standing in Afghanistan, interviewing a sergeant major or somebody with some bit of power there in Afghanistan. And they were talking about how the U.S. soldiers need to protect the poppy fields for the opium production because that's their way of life in Afghanistan. I think the quote was loosely, "We're not here to change their way of life. You know, we're just trying to root out terrorism." And so we also know that in Afghanistan, these grown men there like to take boys for sex. And it's common. And yes, the soldiers knew it. So is it possible that Michael Flynn was using, what'd you say, perfidy? Is that
Perfidy.
what? Perfidy? You know, in service of the greater good, which is also, yes, evil and a war crime. How bad is General Flynn in your view?
Well, I would say first and foremost, it's really important for people to understand who is the one behind General Flynn. Who are the actors that are influencing, financing, and lifting somebody up? Because the rise to power in any general's life is very important, and the rise to the positions of the hierarchy of the United States military, let alone in clandestine operations teams, is critically important. And cui bono is the question people should be asking, which is who benefits by that person being in the position of power that they have. So one of the individuals that we've got to address here is who is it that's honoring him and exalting him and lifting him up. And what we find with a lot of these clandestine operation teams, the founding fathers of them are rooted firmly out of the Vatican. They have fidelity, loyalty to the Pope, the Holy Roman Empire as a whole. And I'm not just saying that because it's some kind of non-substantiated thing, right? There is Johnny Cerrucci, as we talked about before. We're going to read a little from his book. Then we're going to talk about the Knights of Malta and the Office of Strategic Services and the Office of Strategic Services Society, who honors Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, right? Really important. We're going to get there in a second, but just let me read something to you so you guys have an understanding. Illuminati Unmasked. This is written by Johnny Cerrucci. You guys can go to, I think, resistancerising.com and see any of his other works. This is one of his early on books. He did a phenomenal job as a historian, bringing forth the history of who, what, where, when, why, how, they, them, those who are actively involved in many of these different hidden hand agendas. And I would just encourage you, for any of you that are actually committed to trying to find out the truth, it's going to require some diligence on your part. But if you arm yourself with that knowledge, you'll be able to articulate it to others. But in order to better have an understanding of why these people are the way they are, like why Michael Flynn is giving a speech back in 2021 where he is reading verbatim a channeled message from the archangel Michael that was channeled by a prophet of her own words and likings, channeled after 45 minutes of chanting mantras in 1984. And he's giving the exact same verbatim speech, calling upon the 7 rays of Mithraism, right? Where he's calling on all these people to bind themselves in mutual imprecations and an oath to serve the legions of a totally different light bearer. And it's fundamental that people not be taken captive by the devil because of being ignorant of his devices. Like, this is one of those fundamental warnings in the scriptures is do not be ignorant of the schemes of the devil, lest you be taken captive by him, right? This is why so many people are taken captive by him, because they follow after sheep, really. They follow shepherds who are really wolves inwardly. But that woman who was actually prognosticating that channeling of that spirit was a practitioner of Helena Blavatsky and the 1,000 Points of Light and much of the Great White Brotherhood, you know, the mystics of the behind the scenes. So in here, we're going to turn to a page. This is on page 561. For those of you that are interested, we're going to just jump in here on what these individuals actually believe inherently and why they are the prophets on the front line trying to lead people towards a false light, you know, not that 1 John 1 light. There is no darkness in Yahuwah. But this is on Isis Unveiled. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was a Russian mystic and occultist whose writings lined the shelves of the world's secret society lodges. Infighting amongst rival elites will often bring infighting amongst rival elites will often bring hidden truths to the surface. Even criticism of Christian leaders, groups, and behaviors by honest enemies will show sincere believers where to examine themselves. Although Blavatsky was an apologist for the darkest of pagan ritualism, she was unafraid to call out false Christians for what they were, and also was surprisingly frank about rivals like the Jesuits. This quote, this is from her work now. The secret Christian societies all have an immediate connection. They are of Kabbalistic parentage and have once held to the secret wisdom religion, recognizing as the one supreme, the mystery God of the ineffable name, are more or less connected with magic, practically as well as theoretically. In term, them Christians is wholly unwarranted. They neither believe in Jesus as Christ, nor accept his atonement, nor adhere to his church, nor revere its holy scriptures. Neither do they worship Jehovah, God of the Jews, and Christians, a circumstance which, of course, proves that their founder, John the Baptist, did not worship him either. This is a quote from Blavatsky. While the uninitiated see the company of Loyola, this is a euphemism for the Jesuits, group of Catholic teachers and missionaries, Blavatsky accused them and their papal hierarchy of paganism, black magic, murder, and chaos. The origin of the Roman Catholic amulets and relics, this is her quote, blessed by the Pope, is the same as that of the Ephesian spell, or magical characters engraved either on a stone or drawn on a piece of parchment. The Jewish amulets with verses out of the law are called phylacteria, and the Mahatmian charms with the verses of the Quran. All these were used as protective magic spells and worn by the believers on their person. Epiphanius, the worthy ex-Marcosian, who speaks of these charms when used by the Manichaeans as amulets, that is to say, things worn around the neck, which are called paraptia, and incantations and such like trickery, cannot well throw a slur upon the trickery of the pagans and Gnostics without including the Roman, Catholic, and Popish amulets. What she's bringing to the light here is how magical spells and incantations are used in this form of religion and in this form of religiosity. And now, for those of you who haven't seen Michael Flynn's prayer at this conference, a Christian conference, right, where he led the population into this. If it's all right, Sean, I'd like to just play. It's about a 2-minute prayer, which would help people to understand why he says, by his own words, he was reading from a card that was of Michael, the great archangel, that he had a card with that on it. That's what he was carrying on his person carrying as a totem on his person that he read from. Okay. That's what by his own words, in his own defense, apologetically, he defended his position. He did not recant nor repent nor defend it from biblicity, what he actually said in that meeting. Okay. And I think it would just be very helpful for people to see this is the fruits of somebody's life who has a hidden hand agenda being manifested in their words.
Of those sevenfold rays and all your archangels, all of them.
And I am the instrument of those sevenfold rays and archangels, and I will not retreat. I will take my stand.
We will not retreat. We will stand our ground.
I will not fear to speak.
We will not fear to speak.
And I will be the instrument of God's will, whatever it is.
We will be the instrument of your will, whatever it is.
In the name of Archangel Michael and his legions, I am freeborn, and I shall remain freeborn.
In your name, and the name of your legions, we are freeborn, and we shall remain freeborn.
And I shall not be enslaved by any foe within or without.
And we shall not be enslaved by any foe, within or without. So help me God. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you very much.
So these are the sevenfold rays that Michael Flynn is just talking about, which emanate from the great source. Helena Blavatsky identifies the first 7 rays she said they were the primeval celestial beings, variously called the primordial 7. Helena Blavatsky also said it is Satan who is the god of our planet and the only god. And this is her magazine, Lucifer. So when Michael Flynn says we are the instrument of your sevenfold rays, whose sevenfold rays? Satan or Lucifer.
What I'm trying to elucidate here is a vassal agent of the Pope has committed themselves to lie, cheat, and obfuscate their actual true who their loyalty is towards. They are not going to come out and show you what their actual reason, like the true heart of the man reason for why they're on the front line fighting the war and the tactics and the training, the protocols of what they're doing. They're not going to show that. That's the hidden hand of secret societies, non-elected rulers. That's the globalists that have a different agenda that's not coming from the people they're supposedly representing. That man does not represent accurately the Department of Defense, nor the United States military, nor does he adhere to the righteous path of biblical morality. And this is evidenced by the fruits of his lips, where he's being deceptive, cunning and deceptive. But let me show you who is it that honors and exalts him. Okay. Understand something. These are the individuals who exalt and honor Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn. This is the OSS Society. The OSS, if those of you are not familiar with it, the Knights of Malta has organized and structured and placed and founded a lot of these third option covert intelligence agencies. The Office of Strategic Services was first founded by a man named William Donovan, a papal knight. Okay. The OSS in the United States Intelligence Service during World War II was later what became the foundational precursor to the Central Intelligence Agency, and later became established after there. This is Wild Bill Donovan here, and you can see the papal knight authority. All right.
Yes. And by the way, that same logo, that Knights of Malta logo, sitting on the building where, after Supreme Court Justice John Roberts cast the deciding vote to implement and pass Obamacare, he fled the country. He went on a little vacation and he went directly to a place with that logo right on the outside. I'll slice the picture in right here.
Beautiful. But this is the hidden hand this is one. Please understand, there's many different deep state players who are navigating this disgusting minefield of psychological operations and actionable intelligence, direct actions against the United States population and the world as a whole. But the OSS Society honored Lieutenant General Michael Flynn as when he was the acting director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, when he offered a toast to the commander-in-chief. These are events that were documented and have long paper trails, and I encourage those of you who know how to investigate to go ahead and do that and to dig into why these people are being honored and revered in these societies. But that's because they do. Their fidelity and their loyalty has been as an effective change agent to control the narrative through psychological operations. This is the specialties of what covert military operations have in their playbook. And it's not to say that that's not wielded effectively in war time scenarios and is not a critical tool that's needed to effectively defend national interests. However, we have a great variety of rogue agents acting on the behest of other nation states, many of which are from the crown of Great Britain, who are trying to bring about like actual written testimony of Cecil E. Rhodes, the establishment of an Anglo-American English empire, the mixing back of America and England to come back into unity to control the world under its sovereign hand. Like the United States has 1 vote in the United Nations. Great Britain has over 40 at any given time. That nation has so much more power, and yet they used to be our adversaries for generations until in 1924, they took over much of our education system and literally changed the narrative in our historical books to make it out like we are warriors and friends and allies, that we need to get rid of all this contra narrative stuff about us being enemies. And this is where so much of it went over time. And you know, we have a duty to try to take back our understanding to be able to be intellectually equipped to defend our position, and why we need to utterly root out these false light bearers to the utmost ends of the earth.
And that's the goal of all of this, to root out the false light bearers to all the ends of the earth. Exposed. Stanley McChrystal, General Michael Flynn. Fully controlled opposition exposed by Nathan Reynolds and Gray Area Monarch. Thank you all for being here. This was another painfully beautiful production. There's a lot to go back through. You will know them by their fruits. God bless you, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Okay. That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was Nathan Reynolds, man. So, and thank you, painfully beautiful Dibuma Sanmura. Dibuma-san. It's a cool name. But anyway, yeah, man. Hey Jeeps, thanks for being here. Yeah, so you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Somebody who has worked in and around these this general and admiral. I want to say admiral, but maybe just 2 generals. That you know, there have been quite a few other people other than Nathan Reynolds that I guess they are doing a lot of telling what their experience has been, but also finding out new and current operations that are going on. One being the one I showed a minute ago with DARPA. So the narratives that these people are putting out, right, are under many different titles, but I guess what they're doing basically is the bidding of these demonic entities, right? Lucifer himself, I'm sure, you know, is been said to run this world. Well, I think the time is very near when, oh, excuse me, I had to burp. But when, you know, our Father's coming back, and it's not going to be pretty for these people. On a better note, on a much more upbeat note, I'm going to show a few other videos here that let me go and see which one I wanted to. Not that one. Let me see if this is it. Well, you're not being told about what's happening right now. Yeah, this is it here. So yeah, you guys, I mean, I didn't want to end on a bad note. There are a few other things that I think you guys should know about if you don't know. So we'll just get right into this one if there's no questions or anything else I see here in the comments. I don't, but thank you all for still being here. Let's get right into it here. Let me put it back up on stage. And we'll get my big head off here. But yeah, some more very interesting topics I thought you guys would want to know about. So, and they're current. They're not something that's been spoke of a while back. And oh, and also Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be dropping a very interesting, let's say, a very interesting man that I came across. He is a captain and of a very nice vessel. It's about 40 foot long. And he is going to, just have people send in their information. He's got kind of a criteria that he's looking for between certain ages, certain professions that, if you've been on the water before. And I don't know if to believe him 100%, but it's very interesting what he says about what he's found out. And there's a few maps that he's put together, some older maps with a moon map version and where he's been and what he's found, let's say. If you believe in the moon map, what's put forward by a few other people about the moon map, well, let's merge that with the 1500s maps, right? And see what we can come up with, especially when people are like, well, the Great Lakes weren't there and California looked totally different. Well, he's got a very interesting theory that makes a lot of sense to me, and I've looked into it. So on Sunday, I'm going to play his video, but he's looking for people, let's just say, to go on a 7-week trip. And those that are looking for the truth, and if you've got water experience, the better. But I'm also going to give out his email, which he has in his documentary, of what he's looking for in certain people to go on a trip. Now, that's very interesting, and that I'll leave it at that because I don't want to ruin it for Sunday. But it's something that is wholly awesome that I think is in the works. And I'll say this, I'll give you a little hint, a little bit more than that. So, so he's got one ship, but he's investing in another. And the reason why he wants to go on these trips is so that we can start realizing there's more land, right? It isn't like we're going past an ice wall and we got to jump over the ice. And no, it's nothing like that. For what you see, the information that I've seen, the land is just where the water has risen after, I'll tell you this, look into the Little Ice Age, right? And where it ended. And if you look into the history of the Little Ice Age, it'll start making a lot more sense that there's not some big ice wall that just traps us in here. It's not like that. So I'll leave it at that. But I'm going to play this other video, and thank you guys for being here. Much love. God bless. And let's get into it.
Finally talking about this, but there is so much more to this story. Put the Minnesota flag back, he says. But Americans need to pay attention to this. The flag features an 8-point star, a symbol prominent in Islam, and we're seeing it show up in flags all across the nation. The original Minnesota flag was replaced with a flag that resembles the flag of Somalia, a flat blue design with that 8-point star. Now, this is the same flag that Jackie Toberoff and I have been reporting on for almost 2 years now. Minnesota's original flag, there was nothing wrong with it, reflected the history of the land, a Native American on horseback and a farmer. Now, this, of course, comes on the heels of Minnesota's massive fraud scandal, so now people are starting to pay attention to this flag, which is great. But Americans need to understand, again, this isn't just happening in Minnesota. Take a look at Reno, Nevada, before and after. Take notice, 8-point star. Look at Kent, Ohio, before and after. Now look at the city of Hutchinson in Kansas. They've actually scrubbed much of the internet of what the previous flag looked like, but it resembles their city seal. They said it was too basic. Now, Jacqueline Toberoff wrote an entire article in 2024 with all the links of the changes and then proposed flags as well. You can check it out. So what are the chances they all just happen to have this same 8-point star?
Really? What are the chances? It should be obvious to everyone at this point that we're being invaded. Our country is under the control of people who wish that our way of life was a thing of the past. They have no interest in our country thriving. They intentionally brought all these people in here, and now they're intentionally trying to do away with our culture. Whereas all of these people who were brought over here should be assimilating into our culture. And I don't mean by that they should be believing in what we believe in and only living their life according to how we dictate them to live their life. I think it's completely reasonable that places like Little Chinatown in New York exist. You should be able to move to the United States as a legal migrant and be able to hold on to the things that are culturally significant to you. You should have the right to assemble with like-minded individuals. You have the right to do whatever you can to live in comfort. But what you don't have the right to do is come over here and start uprooting our cultural norms. There are states out there now that are threatening arrest, and I've seen videos where it appears that here in the United States, they're actually arresting people who are street preachers who are just spreading the gospel. But in these same areas, they'll be blasting the Muslim call to prayer over a loudspeaker multiple times a day. And if anyone approaches a Muslim on the street and tries to convert them to Christianity, they get threatened with jail time. But the Muslims are given all the rights in the world to go around trying to convert people to Islam. And I could probably rationalize, or at the very least wrap my head around the idea of this happening in most of these locations if the majority of these locations were being completely run by people of the Islamic faith, like if all the city councils in these locations were all Muslim. But these are American-born politicians who are making these changes. This should make everyone in this country beyond furious. This should make everyone upset enough that they're out there protesting the very voters who keep electing these traitors to our country. Anyone who's voting for these people should be ashamed of themselves. They're literally voting to give away our country.
They murder more, they steal more, they enslave more. I can't believe they're even saying this out loud.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good.
Yeah, for hundreds of years, we've realized we should be able to own stuff that does not belong to the government, hence private property.
And we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity.
So you're wanting to transition my thinking from this is my stuff to actually this is the government stuff that the collective gets to use as the government deems appropriate. I don't see where this could go wrong.
And it will.
All right. So, yeah. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there is the movement. Well, it's already done, but the where we are making all of our physical assets in this country, right? Well, the DOD's country and their property, right? It isn't ours anymore because it's all now on the blockchain. It's all tokenized, right? They're just working the rest of the cash out of the system so they can implement monthly incomes, right? For all the jobs that are lost. They're just going to get everyone huddled up on not Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security anymore because those are bankrupt, right? They have to have a new system. This is the new reset. So what they have put in place, right, are right integrating the robots, right, to everything. Not everything. Now there are going to be certain jobs, right, until robots get more acquainted with how to do everything that humans can do. But yeah, the majority of jobs are just being taken, and we're going to be given a an allowance. Let's say, all right, I'll get back to it. I'll stop yapping, but keep that in mind. Everything is being tokenized as we speak. There's some companies like head over that back the that are in control of the stock market, basically are pumping 4 quadrillion tokens, let's say, into replace, billions and billions and trillions of dollars. And just like when Social Security was implemented, there's going to be a new way that the next 30 or 40 or 50 years of people that are born, human, natural, right, as collateral in some way, if it's not eating our fucking children. Anyway, I'll stop yapping and I'll get back to it. Here we go.
Will mean that families, especially white families, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Oh, and it's going to disproportionately affect white families from owning property? Oh my, I love diversity. This admission by Mondani's tenant director or whatever for New York City is just an alarming thing to hear for anybody that's an American and believes that governments can be evil. If you hate the cops, you definitely think governments can be evil. So every BLM person should be mad about this. Every single conservative should be mad about this. Everybody should be mad about this. You need to realize that when the government has more control, you get less control. It's not good for you to give up all the control in the hopes that, hey, if they take everything from the billionaires and from everybody, they're going to redistribute it in a more of an equitable way. No, they won't, bro. You know how people are, and everybody thinks people are. People become the people that you expect to redistribute everything in the way that feels safer and better, and you get more than the billionaire. But what ends up happening is they just redistribute it to their friends. You have to trust the third party person who's going to come around and take everybody's stuff. You have to trust that they're going to give it back out, and they never do. It usually just ends with them taking everything, and then you have to go stand in bread lines. That's how that goes. This is communism. This is socialism. This is totalitarianism. This is tyranny. That's just everything that the Bill of Rights was created for, was to stop this type of ideology. Governments are significantly more evil than the worst enemy you can think of. They murder more, they steal more, they enslave more. You don't want them having control of who gets to own or use property. Anyways, I just can't believe they said it out loud.
I don't generally like to speak disparagingly about people, but how is there not a photo of this lady's face next to the term brain damage in the dictionary? Natural-born citizen to even way of life.
Point energy device was placed on the market, which would.
No one's trying to stop this sort of thing from taking place. That's all the evidence I need to show me that none of our elected officials care about anything other than power. None of them are actually trying to solve any issue that we're facing today because they simply don't care. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comments section down below.
On October 3rd, 2024, a zero-point energy device was placed on the market which would provide unlimited electricity to anything that it is plugged into by 2 inventors out of Italy named Andrea Rossi and Malco Marzocchi. They have already signed contracts for mass industrialization in order to make this decentralized so that everybody has access to this technology. They are trying to take down the big oil companies that have known this technology has existed for a long time, but chose to instead exploit us for profit by making us buy their gasoline. How this technology works is it grabs the energy out of the atmosphere and taps into the background hum of the entire universe to harness the unlimited electricity that is stored there. You can get one of these devices on the website ecatTheNewFire.com, and you can pick whichever size you need based on the amount of voltage that you need. And if you need proof that this technology works, I'll show you a video right now.
On September 27th, 2024, at the racetrack Il Sagittario of Latina, just south of Rome, 2 apparently equal cars engage in a race. The 2 cars are both Renault Twizzys, Model 80, and the contest is Which one can drive the longest distance?
Some kind of
One of
electric
the
vehicle.
cars is unmodified. The other has an ECAT NGU generator on board. The cars are weighed, and then the charge of their battery is measured. The first one, without the ECAT, has a weight of 513 kilograms, and its battery has a charge of 98%. The second one, powered by the ECAT, has a weight of 611 kilograms and a battery charge of 62%. Logic would suggest that the one with greater charge and less weight would win the contest. But note, the Twizy with more weight and less charge is powered by the ECAT, a new energy source that without connection to any other energy source exploits the zero-point energy field, granting enormous energy savings.
Remember how much battery it had
At
at the start.
10:40, the race begins. The Twizy powered by the ECAT starts first. The other starts after half a lap to grant an equal air resistance to both. As expected, the Twizy without the ECAT stops running at 1 p.m. because its battery is completely depleted. It has traveled a total of 73 kilometers. However, the Twizy powered by the ECAT continues to run at a regular pace.
Even though it's
The
heavier.
Twizy continues its pace. The Twizy without the ECAT is removed by a truck from the racetrack, while the Twizy with the ECAT continues its regular pace to reach the predetermined race time of 6 hours.
And these are just
At 5
self-driving too, I
p.m.,
think.
the test is determined to be concluded, and the ECAT-powered car is returned to the paddock. At the end of the race, the ECAT-powered Twizy has run for 201 kilometers, and its battery has a charge of 82%, which is about 33% higher than the charge it had at the start. To watch the whole 6 hours of the race, please see the full-length video at our YouTube channel.
Isn't that insane?
So if you actually go to this website, you can see they have 7 different options now for different size generators that they're selling. And these are all available for pre-order. And I want y'all to listen to this. These things range from a 100-watt generator for $250 to a 1 megawatt generator for $2.5 million. And it says this on their website. I'm going to post it up on the screen here. There's no risk involved in placing a pre-order. You don't need to pay any money in order to place a pre-order for ECAT products, and placing a pre-order does not obligate you to place an order in the future. They'll contact you when the product is ready for delivery, at which point payment will be requested. There will be no penalty of any kind if you choose not to make a payment at that time. The customer has 60 days after the delivery to return the power cell if it does not correspond to the specifications on the published data sheet. The refund will be immediately made after Leonardo Corporation receives the returned ECAT SKLEP NGU undamaged without broken or tampered with parts. And it says that the ECAT power cells have an expected operational lifetime of 100,000 hours, which is over 11 years. After 10 years of operational use, which is estimated at 87,000 hours, the power cells can be returned to the Leonardo Corporation, where they will be fully recycled. Customers can then replace the returned power cells for 50% off the original purchase cost. So you could buy one of these $250 100-watt generators and use it for 10 years, send it back in to get recycled, and get $125 back. I'm just going to ask what everybody else is wondering. How are these guys still walking the streets? How have they not been taken out yet? But I came across this and, for obvious reasons, found it absolutely fascinating. And even more fascinating, people are saying in the comments below this video on X that they're already receiving their generators. And the claims that people are making are crazy. But while I was digging through the comments under this video, I came across something else that I thought was very interesting. It's in regards to Tesla's comment about the power of 369.
This can't be a coincidence. Tesla's favorite topic, energy, frequency, and vibration. He said these were the secrets of the universe, and we've been hearing some chatter online lately about the Schumann resonance, right? This vibration that the electromagnetic field of the Earth emits. It's like about 8 hertz. So I was curious about this because I thought, well, why is that so important to humans? And does that have any relation to all the other frequencies that we use for meditative purposes? And as it turns out, it does. These are harmonies to the Schumann resonance. I didn't know that. This is news to me. There are 6 main solfeggio frequencies, but there's actually 9, I think, in the full spectrum. And from 8 hertz, it goes to 432 hertz, which is an important frequency because that was the original standard tuning for music. But something happened in 1936 where this country decided to eliminate the 432 hertz scientific tuning for music and adapt the 440 hertz model that we have today. And for some reason, in 1953 of all years, the rest of the world ultimately agreed to do the same. Around that same time, there was this going on, which is a conspiracy theory by all intents and purposes, but it does have some correlation to what I'm talking about here, so that's worth looking into. But something that's much more accepted from that time in history is the confiscation of 175,000 bells, which, if you think about a bell, it resonates a specific frequency, it vibrates. I feel like there's something there. So each of these frequencies is a harmony frequency to the Schumann resonance. 174, 285, and so on. These all have different meditative purposes, as you can see listed here. But what's really strange to me, and maybe everyone knows this and I'm just discovering it, is that if you apply numerology to these numbers, check out what happens. What? 369, 369, 369. If you add 1 plus 7 plus 4, it's 12, right? 1 plus 2 is 3. You do that through these frequencies and you come up with a pattern of 369. Okay, so big deal. It's just some unusual pattern. It's a coincidence, right? But it is 369. And you know, someone else used to talk a lot about 369. This guy right here. Now, I don't know, but doesn't it seem like there's a chance this all relates?
So did we just finally get the answer as to what Tesla was referring to when he spoke about the power of 3, 6, and 9? I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm so intelligent that this unlocked some deeper hidden meaning for me, that suddenly I fully understand what Tesla was talking about. But out of all the theories that I've heard in regards to what Tesla was speaking of with this 369 thing, I think this is one of the best theories I've ever heard. Anyone who's that tuned in to how power and electricity work, anyone who understands how to send power wirelessly through the air, I'm sure that Tesla also had a very solid understanding of sound frequencies, especially considering how sound can have an effect on electricity. I genuinely think it's possible that this guy may have finally figured out what he was referring to.
Hey guys, I want to come to you today about ANVA. I've talked about them as we have started doing videos over halting the Real ID upload in February. It's important to know who ANVA really is, so we're going to dive into them a little bit. Remember that ANVA is American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. They are the third-party vendor that is going to be running this database that we are uploading to in February. Remember, this upload is not just for Real ID holders. It's going to be non-compliant, like myself, and the other 50% of Oklahomans plus that have a non-compliant. All of our data is getting uploaded to this system. So today I'm just going to take a few minutes and I'm going to read off some notes, so bear with me because this is pretty heavy stuff. I've really had to study and get my facts written down and straight. So never want to give you anything false. This is all accurate and true, and I would love for you to share this video after you're done watching it so people can understand and hopefully get involved and call the governor's office, ask him to request Service Oklahoma to stop the upload, so we can get proper protections in place for those with an opt-out driver's license. So Oklahoma is quickly and quietly moving to fully implement Real ID by joining ANVA's state-to-state national database system in February of 2026. Once we do, the following will happen permanently and with no individual opt-out. So number one, your driver's license photo and full personal record is going into that system. That's your name, all former names, date of birth, last 5 digits of your social security number, license number, issue number, and eventually the photo itself will be uploaded into a permanent, irrevocable, interstate searchable database run by a private, non-governmental organization, ANVA. Remember, they are not susceptible to FOIAs, to open records, or government oversight, legislative oversight. They are a private industry. Okay, number two, every other participating jurisdiction will be able to query your Oklahoma record in real time. ANVA can decide at any time to add more data to their central database including your biometric driver's license photo. This requires no new legislation or public notice. They're just going to do it. Number 3, once your data leaves Oklahoma, our state agencies lose practical control over who sees it and for what purpose. And future permissible uses can be expanded by AAMVA committees without a vote in the Oklahoma Capitol. So they have committees that'll make decisions for us, not the elected officials of each state. I've asked Service Oklahoma, do we have a representative? And so far, they have not given me a name. They just kind of ignore that question. So would love for them to answer that if they see this video. But right now, we don't know who it is if we even have one. And then number 4, the system is already being prepared for facial recognition matching and mobile driver's license integration. That means your Oklahoma driver's license photo can be run against every other state's biometric photo database and eventually private sector verifiers. They single click. We know that federal agencies like DHS, ICE, and FBI, they can already do this through states under laws like DPPA. But this state-to-state system risks making it easier via a private central hub. Don't like that. So again, those points I think are major points to consider. And just to reiterate, we must halt this by February 14th and get protections into place for those that never wanted to be a part of this, that found Real ID to be unconstitutional, and give them a true opt-out going forward. Right now, we don't have it. Please let me disclaimer, I am not trying to defeat Real ID or abolish it. That ship has sailed. Congress is the only ones that could do that now. Yeah, and so I'm not trying to fight Real ID. If you want your data uploaded and you love your Real ID, great, keep it. Be a part of the system. Not trying to infringe on those rights at all. I'm really just trying to give rights to the other half of the Oklahomans that have kept a non-compliant for a reason, which is to protect their data. And they currently don't have any protections and they think they do. That's it. So I'll leave you with this. Eventually, as AAMVA informs us, there will be no need for a card at all. Our body will be our ID. And this is straight from the source of AAMVA. I'm quoting them here from their website. There is a real possibility that biometric data may one day replace existing identification data for drivers in AAMVA's driving systems, end quote. And that will be Oklahoma if we do not stop this upload and protect those that don't want to be a part of this. So please, I can't say this enough. This is a hard fight in such a short time, but it's so important for all of those out there that have no clue that their data has not been protected all this time, that they are not siloed out. They are just part of the Real ID mess and going to be part of it in February. So please share this. If you have questions, send them to your state legislators, but tell all of them, say, we do not want this until we get proper legislation in place to protect us from this upload. So please halt the upload until we can get proper protections in place.
So my big takeaway from what she's saying here is, regardless of how you feel about the Real ID, whether you get one or not intentionally, before long, we're all going to have it. It's looking to me like whether you decide to sign up willingly for the Real ID or whether you fight tooth and nail to just maintain a regular basic driver's license, before long, they're just going to send you your Real ID in the mail and tell you, welcome aboard. You're now a part of the system. But this lady telling everybody to call their governor and fight back by making a phone call, how do people not understand that that's not going to do anything? Once they actually have the full digital ID in place, which it looks like we're right on the verge of right now, does anyone really think that any of these elected officials are really going to be that concerned with getting reelected? They'll probably just halt elections altogether. The people at the top who are in charge of all this stuff, who are pushing all this through, they've got everyone in place who's going along with this nonsense, and they're going to keep them there. They're not going to risk someone else coming along and fighting back against their agenda. Once this is instituted, it's game over. This country will become a digital communistic dictatorship. They want to take away all of our rights, take away all ownership of any private owned property. They don't even want us driving our own vehicles. Even if you can currently afford to drive a personal owned vehicle, they're not going to allow it. And there's not going to be a middle class anymore. There are only going to be two classes: those who are in control and those who are being controlled. Making a simple phone call to people who want you under their thumb, who want to oppress you, and telling them, I don't like what you're doing, is not going to fix anything. We need to be getting these people out of office by any means necessary. And I'm in no way advocating that they've put us under a spell with. Just finding a simple, single commonality will solve all of this. Just everyone rising up because we all have the same goal. We want to live and we want to be left alone.
Consumers are unaware that the fruit they eat from the supermarket has been treated with a product called Smart Fresh. Now, before I get into what Smart Fresh is, I want you to see it in action. First, they place the fruit in a hermetically sealed chamber. Then they drop the Zyklon B, Smart Fresh, into some water to form a gas, and then they lock up the gas chamber nice and tight. They leave the fruit there for about 24 hours so that it can soak up all the gas, and voila, your fruit has been contaminated. Smart Fresh. Now, let's look at an apple that's been treated with Smart Fresh and compare it to an apple that hasn't been treated with Smart Fresh. This time-lapse video shows the changes over 3 months. As you can see, the Smart Fresh apple hasn't changed a bit. Most people don't even realize that the fruit they buy at the grocery store can literally be a year old before it's actually sold, and you wouldn't know the difference. Let's see what the makers of Smart Fresh have to say about their product. They say the active ingredient of Smart Fresh is methyl cyclopropene, or MCP. They describe it as a simple hydrocarbon molecule. Well, that sounds perfectly innocent, doesn't it? A simple hydrocarbon. What could be wrong with that? Well, examples of simple hydrocarbons are as follows: butane, propane, and even hexane. It turns out they're gassing the fruit with petroleum-based products, ladies and gentlemen. Now, they just call it a simple hydrocarbon so that nobody worries about it. Who doesn't like a little diesel with their fruit, right? Their website also states that this can be used with other fruits and vegetables. Yum, yum, yum. Safe and effective for eradicating rodents and the population. If pesticides don't get you, Smart Fresh will, my friends. Smart Fresh is authorized for use with organic foods, because nothing screams organic like spraying hydrocarbons on your fruits and vegetables. And the worst part here is that people are totally unaware. Of course, the makers of Smart Fresh don't actually show you what Smart Fresh is on their website. They do, however, show you pictures of unsuspecting consumers smiling as they eat this nasty cocktail of pesticides and petrochemical additives. And it's all perfectly legal. Imagine eating GMOs that are sprayed with pesticides and then treated with Smart Fresh. What could go wrong there? Not only that, but the makers of Smart Fresh also make other exciting products that can be used before the harvest season.
I'm kind of
All right, so what do we know about petroleum-based products, right? Well, we know they've been doing this quite a while. I'm sure because of the type of research that I've done plenty of, is when they say it's a smart product, right? It's not just gases and petroleum-based things. Nowadays, if it's smart and you're putting it in your body, there are, let's just say nanotechnology, right? That can self-replicate and take direction through radio frequency and magnetic waves, let's just say. So this is a part of a bigger agenda, right? To get inside of your body. Therefore, we can start doing wireless drugging. That's one technique that they're going to kick in the medical system very soon through telehealth. You thought telehealth through COVID was just going on a video screen to see your doctor? No, my friend. It is much more sophisticated than that. And the towers are up. We all know by now, hopefully, and if you don't, then hopefully I'm helping with this. But yeah, the digital bioconvergence. It's almost a taboo word now when you start talking about that. People just turn off and they don't want to hear it. But yes, what's been sprayed from the skies as well. Smart technology, biosensors made from, you guessed it, human tissue, fetuses, aborted fetuses. That's what was in the jab, along with some graphene and other cocktails, right? So now they're putting it on our foods, even that are labeled organic. So anyway, we'll get back to it. I won't keep yammering on, but keep that in mind. Look that up and do a little research on that Smart Fresh company. You'll see it as liberating. So we'll get back to it. Here we go.
Half kidding here, but this almost makes me feel a little bit better about my poor eating habits. I don't actually incorporate a lot of fruit into my diet, but I am very careful about where I get my meat and my vegetables. I am very fortunate in that where I live, I'm basically surrounded. Any direction you go in, within 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to run into an Amish community. I get all of my pork from an Amish butcher shop. I get all of my vegetables from an Amish store that only sells their own locally grown vegetables. And I would say that's probably 90% of the vegetables that we get. I will sometimes go to the local grocery store here in this small town that I live.
To do this to show everybody exactly what I be.
That's as much as a year old and it still looks fresh because it's got so many chemicals and preservatives in it. What's the point in banning soda and potato chips from the SNAP program? They've manipulated our food so much at this point that eating an apple isn't really going to be that much healthier than eating a bag of Doritos. And I know that that's a little hyperbolic, but I'm genuinely starting to feel that way.
I wanted to do this to show everybody exactly what I be talking about. Look at the human race. Just look at everybody, man. We all just trapped in this little phone, bro. Nobody looking up no more. Necks hurt. It's sad what we've come to. We used to really be humans. Now look at us. Robots. Just stuck. We don't want to do nothing no more but look in this phone. He way in the corner by the trash cans at Waffle House looking in his phone. Barbershop, kids, parents, stuck. Another person. Look at this. Like where we go wrong at, y'all? Where do we go wrong? Restaurants, Food Line, McDonald's. Where do we go wrong, man? We need to make this viral. We need to get this out. We need to show each other what we look like. We can't even work out no more. Look, at the job sites, everywhere. Don't even pay our kids no more attention. Just stuck. He won't even move. He don't even know the car coming. I'm surprised she know how to walk. Look at this, in the middle of the whole intersection. Just, come on, man. Y'all see what's going on and it's sad. Send this to somebody and tell them to pick their head up. We've lost ourselves and it's sad.
Last night, my wife and I took our children to go eat at the Hibachi Grill to eat sushi. While we were there, something occurred to me. We used to be one of those families that would go in and sit down and pull out our phones and start checking our social media while we were waiting on our food to be brought to the table or while we're waiting on the waiter to come over and take our food order. About 2 years ago, I noticed that that's what everyone does when they go into a restaurant. And one day, I just happened to look over at the table beside us and I saw a family that was equally the size of ours, a couple who had like 4 or 5 kids. I've got 4 myself. And I saw that the dad was on his phone, the mom was on her phone, the youngest child that they had with them was on an iPad, and all of their older kids who look like they're roughly between the ages of 10 and 17, every one of them was on a phone. And I don't know what it was that drew my attention to this, but something about it just didn't sit right with me. I looked over and I saw this and I felt myself judging these parents. And then it occurred to me that I was holding my phone. My wife was looking at her phone, and all of my kids, because they didn't have phones at the time, because I don't agree with giving a phone to a child. They were all sitting there bored out of their mind. From that point on, we made it a point that when we go to a restaurant to have a meal together as a family, or even if it's just my wife and I going out to enjoy lunch together, the cell phones stay in the car or in your pocket. But going back to the specific situation that we experienced last night, it just suddenly occurred to me that the last year or so, and I can only attribute it to our lack of cell phone use, because I still see this being an issue all around me when we go out to eat. But some of these sit down meals that I have with my wife and kids are some of the most enjoyable experiences that I have. And I'm not saying that our meal last night was bad. This isn't like the reason that this occurred to me last night. I had some soup, some salad, and 2 lobster rolls, and it was absolutely phenomenal. We have a really good sushi place. But it occurred to me last night that multiple times throughout the past 12 months or so, we've gone to a restaurant and had just a horrible experience at that restaurant. The food was bad, the service was bad, and then on top of that, the atmosphere of the place was subpar. We've done quite a bit of traveling, mainly here locally, trying out new restaurants and stuff around the area. And I've honestly had some very pathetic excuses for a meal. But I can't remember one time since we've made that no phone rule that we've gone to have a meal together as a family and not still walked away enjoying the experience. I think people just don't realize what they're missing out on by sticking their face in that phone all the time. And I've got issues with it myself. I am by no means saying that I'm better than anyone else. Granted, I do have to look at content like this because of making these videos. I do probably 30 or 40% of that looking for video content on my phone and the rest on my actual computer. But since we've made that rule, I've noticed this is whenever I get to know like the deep thoughts that my son has. These are the moments that I hear about the issues that my youngest daughter is having with some of her friends at school, and I'm able to give her advice that could help her, advice that she seemingly desperately needs, advice that she would have missed out on if I was sitting there looking at Facebook. And I've now got a daughter who is 18 years old and moved out of the house. It feels like it was just a couple of years ago that I was broke, living in a 2-bedroom rental, working a miserable factory job, and coming home and sitting up all night with her because she had colic. And I would have to sit on the couch with her and sit her in my lap and fold my fingers together over her belly and hold her in place so that she could fall asleep. And she would literally slump over my arms like this and pass out on me. But I know I've been warned a million times that the time you have with your children is just going to disappear, that you're just going to look up one day and they're adults. They're gone. They're off to start their own life. And I am so fortunate that while I have one 18-year-old daughter, I also have a 6-year-old son, and that I've realized just how quickly that time passes while he's still 6 years old. Life goes by so fast, and everyone's just wasting it. It's heartbreaking to see. And I want you all to know I am so unbelievably grateful for every view that I get on these videos. I'm grateful for every comment. I'm grateful for every like. I can be having a terrible day and just reading comments on my latest video for 5 minutes will completely turn it around. I don't know how I accidentally created one of the most positive comment sections on the entirety of YouTube, but I genuinely feel like somehow I ended up with that. But that being
All right, let's see. Let me take this one down. So that young man's name is Barry Stepp. I highly recommend his his content. And so yeah, he seems to be a pretty good guy, man. So I've got to know him, I guess, vicariously through the internet, right? But uh, yeah, man, Barry, if you if you see any of this stuff, dude, that I do, and you ever want to be a guest, let me know. Um, if you happen to run across this, but I have shown quite a few of your videos over over my podcasting experience, right? Um, but but yeah, I just wanted to say that. So guys, if you guys check him out and you like his stuff, man, give him a shout. Uh, yeah, man. With that being said, I want to drop the link if anyone would like to come up and just chat, man, about what you've seen today, or if you got any ideas or content type of suggestions, that you'd like me to play on here, I'm getting my new studio. Well, it's finished now in my back room actually. But excuse me. But what I'd like to do is start having people on a little more often when I'm up. Like right now, I'm in my bed. I'm comfortable. I got the laptop in front of me. Doing this live. But I'll be up more, and you guys will be able to kind of hang out with me in person. If you're interested. Let me read the comments here. I just wanted to backtrack here and catch up with you guys. Yeah, let me come up here. So we got some conversations going on, guys. Toronto Thrash, you're new, but welcome. I'm glad you're here. Lev Kong, brother, I'm glad you are here because I was going to ask you when or the other day when you asked me on Discord about which I did a post and I dropped your video. That's the one I looked at that was speaking of Taurus and toroidal fields and what you're when you were doing your work earlier on in the truther movement, right? Like even myself, seeing some of your stuff a while back, I just never got. There's so many people, like so much content, I don't get to watch as much of everyone's content, but that I would like to. But that one you did here, actually, I will. Let me just show you the one I looked at because I don't remember the name of it exactly. But let me go here. Let's see. Channel. And if you see the one I'm talking about, you'll know exactly which one. But it was just speaking of some of the other people that came up after some of your work that started doing podcasting, and I'm pretty sure they've seen your work, right? Let me go over here, and I do think that they owe you some thanks, bro. And I definitely want to give you your flowers, bro, because you're a brilliant guy. And this is the one right here. If you can see this, it was about a 15-minute talk, and you did it a few weeks back.
Fake truthers and the movement of spirit. So in this one, I've got a few different clips.
And if you don't mind, bro, I want to play this. And if you feel comfortable coming up, and I'm gonna drop the link here. Let's see, where are we at? Right here. And if you feel comfortable, yeah, come up and talk to me about it a little bit, because I did quite a bit of research on the same topics, right? Here we go. I'm gonna come back and read some of this though. But if you're cool with it, bro, I'll play it because I want people to know exactly the stuff, the work that you put in on this topic, right? Or if anyone else wants to come up and hang out, just let me know. Oh man, but yeah, dude, I think that what we need now more than ever is people that are, brave and want to really give their understanding of where we live and how it operates. The possibilities, like you were saying in these talks earlier about ordering some of these, generators from overseas and putting them to use in our own homes, and that pull energy right out of the background medium, right out of the ether, out of the 0 point energy field, or fields, I guess you could say. And maybe we can start to wean off of back then I did, but try to start really weaning off of these power companies, right? And I myself know quite a bit. I wouldn't say everything, but I know quite a bit on how to, just disconnect from the grid, but still be in society, right? And, being able to live where we want to live, but take our power source with us, right? If we decide to move somewhere else, and they're like, well, we got a power pole out here and the smart meters, right? That's a whole nother fucking topic, smart meters. But and not have to rely on that, right? And save some money over the long period of time, like you know, a medium-sized generator, right? You can use. It says 100,000 hours, right? And it only costs $1,000. So it'll pay for itself over a few short months, rather than having to continually pay these scoundrels, bro, for power source and all that. But yeah, jump on 2 seconds. Cool, man. Yeah, just when you jump on, I should hear a little beep, and I can bring you on in. I do not even like answering my phone. I'm an old man and all talked out, so I type. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm disabled. I'm a quadriplegic, so I use the text to speech option on a lot of my I guess you could call them tools, tech, right? So I am still, I guess, relatively young. Young, 43 years old. I feel definitely younger than that. My body, on the other hand, is breaking down quite quickly. And I don't have extra income to treat my health the way I would like to. But I treat myself good, as in keeping my mind occupied on things that matter, right? So that keeps me sharp. That keeps me focused. So Toronto Thrash, you say, if I knew how to tap into that free energy Nikola Tesla knew, I guess I want to configure it for a microcar. Technically, I would not be motorized and I would not need a license, right? Okay. If you don't mind me asking, Toronto, do you live in the U.S. or elsewhere? Because I would love to try to help you achieve that goal. Even though I'm disabled, my brain isn't disabled, right? So if you have the hands and I have the knowledge, and we can come up with some very conductive metals and some strong magnets, yeah, in southern Ontario, Canada. Okay, so you're up there in the cold regions. Oh yeah, Sunday, dude. Sunday is going to be exciting. I want to get y'all's thoughts on this, because the documentary I'm going to show, man, I just want to give it to y'all now so y'all can watch it before Sunday. But man, I want it to be like I'm watching this for the first time with you guys, because I want to get some genuine reactions on this mapping idea from this guy. He's a captain who has a very, let's say a medium-sized vessel that can house 10 people, and he wants to go on a 7-week round trip with those that he can train, right, and get through this 7-week process out on the open ocean, and let's say find out if there's a wall or not. And if there's not a wall, can we get around, not to go to way out these far lands like these maps show, but what if we could get to a land that isn't advertised? Here we go. Here's Lev. All right, let me add you to the stage. All right, can you hear me, sir?
Hey, how we doing? Yeah, can I hear?
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, I was just talking about hopefully I can give you guys some new information on an old cat. He's an old captain, right? That wants to go to some places that maybe he's been before, right? And he wants to people to email him the information, your age and stuff like that. But he's got a few criteria that, you know, you got to pass, of course. You don't want like a 80-year-old man that, you know, can't get around. But he's one of these
What's this
guys
one?
that, yeah. But go ahead.
Where's to go? Sorry. What was this
Okay.
about?
I would like to let me show you. I want to show you guys. Fuck it. I might as well show y'all, man. Now it's a guy. He has his own sailing vessel, and he has put a few details together that, you know, from like the older maps, and then the moon map, and then like what his theory. Let's just call it a theory for now, because I don't know if it's, you know, absolutely true, but he's wanting to put together a crew that can go with him on a trip, and then, you know, kind of show people what he's found, and then bring people back so we can start to, you know, maybe encourage other captains with vessels to go on a trip as well, right?
Who's this captain? Is he part of the Truth Movement? Who, when you said him to begin with, it sounded like somebody we know. You said like this Cappy or Kappa.
Yeah, I don't know him personally, of course. You know, I'm just met him through the internet. And you know, he made his own documentary, explaining in high detail what I'm not explaining now. I'm just giving like the basics, but he goes into detail of, you know, like the old, what's the big map that Vlad talks about, the big 10-foot map. He went and took pictures of it, and
Oh, that old one.
yeah, the old one. It's like
Fossil Monkeys
15
or something.
something.
Yeah.
hmm So it's basically that map mixed with the moon
Not the
map,
Gleasons.
and then right, and then there's some, you know, land off that isn't part of where, you know, our, let's say, our known lands, right?
It's the one with all the
And
mythical creatures on it. That map.
yes, yeah, not Gleason, Toronto, but these. Oh goodness, let me just show you. Do you want to look at this, or would you rather
Urbano Monte. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Urbano Monte. Yes, that one. So the Urbano Monte map shows a lot of lands that pre last reset, or let's call it the Little Ice Age. Okay, this is what scholarly teachings teach about, right? They call it the Little Ice Age, and it just like pretty much from the beginning to the end was like 300 and something years, and it ended in like the 1700s. So that the Urbanto Urbanto Monte or something. I can't pronounce it. Sorry, guys.
Urbano. Plain and simple truth.
There we go. Urbano Monte. Yes, thank you. But so this map was showing before the sea levels rose, basically. So this is why you have all around the world, like on the coastlines, they're, you know, have been finding for years cities that just
That
sank right
depends,
into the
though, because
ocean.
if it's only from 1500s, then it might have been. There might be an issue with that date in that kind of sense. Because I mean, what sea level that low? I mean, what would have caused the rise in? Because I kind of thought it was like due to giant trees and all that kind of stuff. It's not got that many more. So then we've got all the water and stuff like. But on that, there were no ice on Urbano Monte map. There's no ice, is there? So you know, where is it in that sense?
Right.
And is there any
Yeah,
depiction of like giant trees on it?
yeah, I do think there were a couple of resets, right? What it seems like as far as the architecture and the giant trees. I think that was quite a bit longer ago than what, like it's almost like prehistory, because, you know, our history has been rewritten so much that all we have left is like the architecture and the flat top, um, where it says the angels came down and cut the trees, you know. Um, and then also we have proof of like plasma events going off that have melted things. And so I do think the Oberno Monti map was rare in the fact that, you know, it was more recent. So it shows. So I don't think it was always ice, as in an ice ring, but I do think there might be an ice ring wider out, as in like the moon map shows, you know, us in this corner, and then there's what's called where the little America was, you know, and the Nazis, they say the Nazis ran off over there to that part of the realm. And so, and then there's a lot more what seems to be land. But oh man, I can't wait for you to see it, because I know you're going to have to say about what he shows. You know, I'm sure you can put more than two and two together. You know, um, uh, because I think there also seems to be something with the moon map as you turn down the contrast. Say if you could just cut down the contrast of the moon, the brightness, and to a point where the known lands would disappear, but then there would be a star map, aka the firmament, right? That you will start to see that as you turn the contrast down, as he did, you start to see the 12 um how do you call it, up in the sky, the 12
Constellations.
Constellations, there you go. So you start to see the little dots, and you can line up over the land where the moon is reflecting the land and the firmament, right above it. Like, because if you think about it, if we believe the biblical model, which I do, I think the sun and moon are just inside of the firmament, and you would see the reflection of the firmament onto, you know, the blue hue. This is why I think the stars are nodes, right, in the sky, Taurus nodes, and then I think the ocean nodes, the tidal nodes, are also one for one. Like, I think they're spinning, like in the Oberno Monti map, it shows an ocean. Certain places are like what do you call that, where the water spins around. So I think there's some type of energy in the telluric currents in the earth that match up with the stars. So they're both like Taurus, above and below. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've done a series. My most recent series were about like the imperceivable light of the heavens and all that kind of stuff. So like what we can't see in space, I call that, like, you know, why they call it space, because it's like, you know, there's nothing there in that kind of sense, right? There's nothing there because it's imperceivable. So you got all your dark matter and all that kind of thing, and it's like, you know, we've scoffed at that in past and stuff kind of thing, but it turns out nature can show you what it's actually like. And so it's like, if you see it more like with some photos, like and it shows you space, like deep space and beyond deep space, and it looks like tissue
Yeah,
fibers, you know what I mean, like muscle or whatever and stuff like that. And it's kind of like
like the Birkeland currents. Is that what you mean? The connective between the stars, right?
yeah, it's kind of like a neuro links, like in your brain and all this kind of stuff, like.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you like compare it with that, like we're inside like God's mind or God's brain or body in that kind of sense and stuff. If we're like the heart of creation, maybe it's the heart or along them lines and stuff like. But in my theories, I included all the stars as part of that heart, and so it's like, no, we're not like, you know, singled out. It's like all the stars are part of it. So like
Yeah.
they're all connected as well. So it's like when you see there's loads of where's my episodes? Like how lightning forms and all of that kind of stuff. Like It's one of the things because like throughout my series, I've shown you how water forms everything. You know what I mean? But then it's like
I'm gonna.
water from.
Can I go to your page and show what you're speaking of while we speak on it?
Yeah. Oh, just
Okay,
just
awesome.
thumbnails at the back.
Let me go here then. See, I could go to that one. Okay. Okay. Don't play.
Person community actually is, how strong.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's go to LevCon. Let me go here. Sorry, I gotta pick with my little pinky here. There we go. Kung Fu. Right. Nope, that's not you. That's not you. Let's see. I don't know why I pulled that up. Okay. Just backspace here. Lev. Kung. Oh, let me just LevCon. Do I type it all in at once or just LevCon and then space Shaolin?
There's a space before Shaolin.
Just want to make sure I get it right. Well, I don't want Kung Fu Shaolin. AOL. Okay. Shaolin. Oh goodness gracious! I keep on clicking on the same thing here. Sorry about that, guy. So what? Which episode should I go to when I get there?
So I think I suppose it's Tree of Life Part 1, I think. I mean, refresh my page, my thumbnails aren't moving. You know, give you a preview.
I'll just have to click on your.
Actually, right, we've got a different one.
I may have to.
G Creation Krishna Spirit. One of them Krishna ones.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, I'm working with one pinky here. Let me just go to here. Yeah, because I every time I go to type in your specific name, it always takes me to some offshoot of people doing Kung Fu. And I don't know why. We can go to L. I should just be able to type it in, you would think. There we go. There you are. Okay, I didn't. I just put in LevCon. My bad. Okay, and you said go to. Is it playlist here?
No. Videos.
Nope. Videos. Okay. Here we go. Videos. 16, 15, 14. But it's under the Tree of Life.
Any Tree of Life ones, I suppose, in a way. It's like in a sense, it's kind of like it's best going through series from the very, very beginning. You know what I mean? Stuff like because it's like it starts off with trees and all that kind of stuff like. So then when you come to this one, it's kind of like you're seeing it on a different level. So then when you like rewatch the series from the beginning after watching these, it kind of gives like the beginning series like a fresh eye. So it kind of like completely changes how you perceive it all and stuff like. I see that all that white light is what's going on in space, but we can't see that. Only thing that we can see is the flowers which grow with the limbs on it. Those flowers are each individual realm. And so you can see through the tunnels.
Yeah.
But we travel through this when we go to sleep. Like when we dream and when we go from lifetime to lifetime. When we reincarnate and such. This is what we travel through.
It's amazing, bro.
Which is because space.
And it leads. Uh-huh.
Like how they taught us to look at it in that left brain way, and it's not like that. It's actually the spirit realm, and so we're seeing it in this way now. It's giving a completely different perspective on what's actually there. And so, like the Big
Right.
Bang and all that kind of stuff, they look like explosions, but at the same time, you can see that it's not an explosion. It's just a plant. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
even though it looks like an explosion, quite often we had like underwater episodes how the sunlight shines through the waves is crashing, and you got all the froth and stuff, and it collects all the light. Again, it looks
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
explosion, but it's not, you know? So,
Yeah.
this
Do you
is
think a lot of these,
shown on
a lot
Smart
of,
Fish in these episodes.
do you think a lot of these, they, each thing is a life form, right? But it's happening at a different speed. So it experiences it from its perspective. But when we see it, not just plants, but like you say, like the ocean waves coming up and dropping. Just imagine something that's like super, super, super small. It seems like it would, from its perspective, it would take a long time to get up to shore and to to let the frothing happen, right? But
You mean
this
like a
happened.
fly
This.
that lives
Hmm.
for a day, but it experiences an entire lifetime from its own perspective?
Hmm. Yeah, that
You
kind of
mean
thing.
like that
Yeah,
in that kind of sense?
yeah, exactly. And some things happen very quick, and then some things happen very slow. But it's really, how would you say it? It's just an unfolding. Whether it happens fast or slow, the life experience is one and the same, right? With everything else, it's just we're at a higher consciousness perspective, so we can see all these other life forms happening, not from them, but and we understand it. Like we understand it's us, right? Or it's we're almost pretty much made up of the same things, right? Then there's that spark that gives us gives us this experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another
And we
aspect of it.
understand
So it's just
ours
like it's
from the we explain it through the words of creator, right? Like words or vibrations. Um, and that's how kind of we see our own lives unfolding. But everything that was spoken, or everything that is now or was, is just part of one verse, or one vibratory, you know, plasma unfolding, I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
Energy systems,
like
like you say, with the lightning,
the
with.
cell in God's body in that way. Each cell is a
Hmm.
torus field in itself. You know, it's a bubble of consciousness, and within that bubble of consciousness is infinity. So if you share the experience of that bubble of consciousness, like talking to somebody, you're exploring that person's mind. You know what I mean? Or it's a sharing of minds and stuff like that kind of thing. So yeah, even though them cells are small, it's like a giant cell could enter into one of those cells and experience the realm in there and appear to be tiny because it's within that realm now. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
once it passes on and goes into another realm and continuously, goes on the journey in that way.
Yeah, if you think about it like that in a way, and you scale it up or down, everything's up, that comes into existence from that seed, or that 0 point energy, or however, and it unfolds into the physical from metaphysical. It's everything's a big bang all the time. It's just on different scales, is what it seems like
Yeah, well,
to
I call
me.
it
Because
it's the
yeah.
infinite tiny silence. Because like you see the creation of it, like from the small flowers, like real flowers, you know what I mean? And the tininess, it's like, it's like it's so small it seems to come from nowhere, you know, in a way. And it's kind of like, so I don't know. Another aspect of like the base of these plants, and like some of the videos or some of the pictures will show you like how the light comes from the bottom, and it's like it's like that's the doorway, so that's where home is. So these are all the realms of heaven. Every single one of them is a realm of heaven. So that's where
Oh,
we
look
are
at that
now. We're in a
vibrating.
realm of heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because we're being invaded, those people, they try to make it look like hell. You know what I mean? They're trying to, like,
Yeah.
change this world in that kind of sense and stuff. And
Yeah. Parasites, for sure. For sure. And and not to get on the dark aspect of this, but that a lot of people don't understand that there are other life forms that aren't, you know, uh, I don't want to say not human, but they're a different way of they're just sentient, not conscious, and they're very, very, very tiny, and they can, just like us, reproduce. And people don't understand that these things have been dropped on us for quite a while, and they're trying to change what we are from the inside out, right? And that is the parasitic mind, right? That's their ideas. So when they put that on us, we need to purge from that, and try to get these parasites out of us, because they make us, they're able to um, manipulate them once they're on you and in you to respond, right? To have these responses through these towers. But anyway, I didn't want to get too far off there, but yeah, these are beautiful. You know what this reminds me of is when you look at terpenes, right? Under a looking glass, an eyeglass. You know what I mean? The terpenes, um,
what
which are
happens?
beautiful. Yeah, terpenes, the little fibers that grow on the cannabis plant, and they look like
Oh,
water
yeah.
droplets.
They're in there.
Yeah.
They're in one of the episodes.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if
Okay.
it's in this series. It's in the previous ones.
This
Windows
reminds
of
me of it
Spirit.
though. Okay. Yeah, guys, check
But it
that
is
one
that
out
it's like
then.
the same thing.
Yeah.
That's like the fractal aspect of it. How it's, even though it's small, it's like infinite. It's got like that infinite potential within it.
Yeah, that's beautiful pictures, man. It's just so
See,
interesting to know. And then the ones that, these natural flowers or whatever, or the terpenes and stuff that we see on this small scale, but it binds with our natural receptors in us, right? And it gives us that if you want to call it a trip or a high, those are just trigger words. But I do think that these naturally were meant for us because we wouldn't have the systems in us if not, right?
yeah, there's dependable aspects. Because there's like poisonous plants, isn't there? You know what I mean, which are lethal. You know what I mean, and stuff like. So there's all them kind of aspects of things in terms of nature and stuff like. So there's still an aspect. Because we've still got receptors for them.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean? It's not
Well, the
kind of
true
like a rule
doctors
as
that
such.
knew this
Like
stuff were the I was just going to finish. So the true doctors that knew this kind of things were the original shamans and medicine men, right? They were the ones that
yeah,
figured these things out for us, and that was co-opted by the parasites that took over and made petroleum-based medicines. But yeah, I wanted to hear what you were going to say about that.
I want to talk about what we're on screen at the moment. You've got like you see like each realm, each thing of light has got like this cushion area around it. And so like you can't this is why we've got a Goldilocks zone. This is why planets don't crash into each other. You know what I mean? There's like everything's got its set place.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't seem like um from my experience or from they will say, yeah, there's asteroids and things coming there that it's inevitable we're going to get hit, that look at all these craters and things like that. And it's just that's the way this organism was formed. It wasn't a destructive process. I think it was meant to be you know a permanent place for us to come and experience that, and for us to realize all the beauty, because if if you're if you're someone who's really looking for truth, you should look in nature. You know, that's where everything's ideas originate from in the first place.
These flowers show like the creation of a realm. So the expansion and contraction. It's debatable whether it's flames. It could simply be light and water. So like, you know, the expansion and contraction, the chakra goes through its different colors. You know what I mean? So you've got all these different flowers, and we've got all the different colors. You've got green ones, you've got yellow, or whichever color. You know, blue. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, and stuff like green. I said green.
Yeah.
But you've also
But
got
yeah,
your
if you
flat
get a
flame
high,
as well.
yeah,
So
okay, go ahead.
so it shows how, you know, if you like watch a series through and stuff, that kind of thing, kind of like the expansion and contraction and all that kind of stuff is how the glass dome is made as well. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's like, you know, this is the birth of a realm in that kind of way. Or
Right.
realms.
Yeah, and you know, it's almost when you take, you know, a substance for a trip, you know, educational trip, um, this is what you do see plasma. Everything seems to be on fire almost. Like for me, like it's almost like not fire like flamey fire, but you know, electric fire, like aliveness. It looks solid and everything, but if you just kept zooming in and zooming in and zooming in, you know, that's all you see is miniature versions of the whole, you know, like a hologram. And that's interesting to me as because I believe fully in, you know, fractal existence, especially with
I see it as
Fourier
chi.
charts.
And so like our chi, like its pure state before it becomes the elements, is more like a mixture of the elements. So that's why you see all the different colors and all these kind of things. And we're seeing it in the sky when we look up and we see stars and stuff like that kind of thing. And so we're seeing the same thing, but I think NASA's depicting it a little bit different. You know what I mean? So there's that
Oh, yeah.
aspect to it and stuff. But in terms
Right.
of chi though, like, so sometimes like it looks like flames, but then it's got all the different colors that it shows. And so sometimes like, you know, like it doesn't have to be flames. You know what I mean? But at the same time, in terms of like being chi, as it fluctuates and becomes different states, it will create the elements. So there is that potential chance that it can create
Hmm.
heat and all these kind of things, or even fire explosions and such. It has to melt the dome. You know what I mean? So I do think it creates sand once it's in the process of the chakra expanding and contracting. Once it creates a load of sand, once it goes into another expansion, it pushes the sand out, and that's why it becomes a perfect circle, yeah, a perfect sphere of glass. Hello, sphere of glass.
Hmm.
uh,
Right. Right.
and it's also got the potential to keep doing that, so it could make several spheres of glass, so we don't have to just have one dome. And so, like a lot of examples of multiple domes throughout the series as well.
That's a beautiful picture right there. I'm gonna pause it there for a second. Yeah, I'm gonna come back over to where we're at. Maybe I can keep the same screen up. Let's see. Uh, well, it won't let me pull the other one. All right. Uh, well, we'll stay here for a second. Yeah, I had put on a video the other day. There was a guy speaking on what he had found out using electron microscopes, right? And he would notice that these perfect geometric shapes were always at the smallest scale, where there would be um, let's see, how did he put it? So there were these spheres being made only by force of a spinning spinning motion that he couldn't see, but he seen the effects of this tiny, tiny toroidal thing that would shape these things into spheres, but the spheres would be packed full. Like there was a process of spinning where it would attract certain chemicals, right?
A
Or
chakra
certain,
spin.
right. So when he was looking at the smallest scale he could, he would realize that these spheres would come together, but then after it was formed into a sphere, then it would collapse. There would be no more force spinning it, right? So this sphere would open up, it would crack open, right? And all this tiny, tiny, like even much smaller than the sphere on an electronic, like electron microscope, even smaller than that, would come pouring out all these other, just whatever they were. Like they were like carbon, iron, like I don't know, I think something like potassium, or it was something like that. Well, after it would spill out, it would leave like these jets, right, of spewed out material. Well, they always came out in a jet, like shooting out and spiraling. So the force that brought together the sphere, these were like atoms or whatever, or they may not have been atoms. I don't know. They were very small, and I've got it. I'll pull it up and drop it in the description afterwards. My point is, all this stuff would come pouring out in a toroidal manner. So this is when the torus broke up, or the toroidal, vortex motion would break up, and as soon as it broke up, the sphere could no longer hold itself together and would crack open, right? And um, then these spheres, if they did stay together long enough or whatever, and spilled out these things. My whole point is, what the reason why he could find this out is because it would have to go plasmatic first. Like these gases would have the electrons, and the process would have to rip these electron away from whatever, right? And it'd have to go plasma. And after this plasma shot across, like say copper or something, whatever they were, testing these forces out on, it always came down to plasma and a toroidal vortex motion to bring these things, and of course magnetism, right? Um, to bring things back together. But it was a process of things ripping apart and then coming back together, ripping apart, coming back together. That would show, these one or two forces that were needed, or processes, let's call them, right, to form this stuff. And now these were the building blocks of everything. Um, and I'd love to show you that, but yeah, man, I just wanted to, I don't know what made me go into that whole rant there, but um, yeah, it's wild how life begins and is sustained, and everything has its season, right? Everything comes and goes, and I think it's a testament to show that if the forces start from above in this, spinning, rotating, master plan, and it just feeds downward, and we can prove that underground these electrical forces are happening on large, large scales, right? And then we can show that the same type of capabilities that are looked at the smallest scale pretty much happens in the same way. Then that's a telltale sign to me that, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I've got this video.
Go
Chakras,
back. I'm gonna
micro and
add it.
macro.
Uh-huh.
I'll put it in
Go
chat.
ahead. Okay. Yep. And I
Like
got this
halfway
one too. I
through,
still want to watch with you afterwards, with fake truthers and the movement. Yeah, definitely want to look at that.
if you
All
skip
right, let's.
to about 3:30, 328 or something like that.
Let me see if I can copy this. Am I doing this right? Save as, more tools. Don't know. Can I just? I should just be able to. Well, I can't highlight it. It seems it will only let me either hide it or show it. Or well, let me see. Here we go. Delete comment. No. Ban. No.
You're
No.
using
What?
moderator options.
Am I? Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah, they're moderator
Okay.
options. Right click on the writing. Don't touch the three dots. That gives you the moderator
Okay.
options.
So click here.
Then you get option to open a
Okay.
new tab.
Yeah. Let's see. Print. Send tab to your devices. Screenshot. More tools. View page source. You think that's the one? View page source. Let me click on that and
On
see.
mine, it says open a new
No,
tab.
that's
Copy
fine.
link address. Open link in of a window, etc.
View page, inspect, screenshots, more tools. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, but
Read
it's really
aloud,
small.
share. Maybe it's share. Yeah, share it on my open on the page here. Okay, here's something. Share link. There we go.
No,
StreamYard
it's
Studio
sharing
now.
to.
I want it, but
That's
I
just
could
sharing.
probably just share. Okay.
Sharing
Maybe
online. That is like it should like share to Facebook and all that kind of stuff.
Or I could copy link here. No, this is StreamYard. Dude,
No, I'm just saying
you can
example.
tell. You can. Okay, you can tell I'm new at this, bro. So if
It's like
I'm
over
gonna
your
try to
mouse
do,
over
yeah.
over writing, and then just right click on it, and then you've got like opening a new tab. You can copy link address through there, all that kind of stuff. I'll just click it. I don't know. See what happens if you click it.
Yeah, I
Just
just
left click on
clicked it, but it just
right.
shows. See how it puts it on the screen there? Oh, here we go. Oh, wow, what in the world? Oh, I just made it huge. My bad. Okay, let's go back out of that. Is it on a playlist I can just go to? Because I don't. It's not letting me do what I want to do when I right click on it.
Have you still got my video page open?
Yes, sir, I do. Let's see which one was that?
Scroll down. It's near the bottom. You could reverse the what's it called, the list, so it's like comes to the top.
Yep, I can. Let me go to is this? Yep, this is
Scroll
this
down
is
and see
it.
if it's there by chance.
Okay. And it's called which one again? Hey, come on down.
Yeah, further down. Yeah, it's because they're not in order how it's showing you, so
Okay,
it's
I
just
got you.
random whether it's going to be.
Okay.
Just keep
Origins of
scrolling
Life,
down.
Reflections. Okay.
It's called Origins of Life, Chakras, Micro and Macro. It's got a like a cell with a fish in it, black background. None of them.
None of them. Okay. Let me go back up here then, and we will type it. G creation. Not that one.
It's not G
Life.
creation. It's Origins of Life.
Okay. Let's see, that one's G creation. Let me go to all.
And that's all YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's all my stuff. Yeah. Okay.
If
I'll just type it
you've
in.
got me, you've got what's it called? Just go to channel. where you are there, you can see it left
Uh-huh.
on the left side. You've got my name. Click onto channel.
Yep.
I'm teaching you how to use YouTube.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I know, right, dude? I'm like, I'm
Videos and
slow.
then oldest first, and then you'll come. It'll show you. You click on oldest. Yeah. Then scroll down, and it's not far away. Keep going a bit. It's after these bunch.
War of Nature. Spirit of Nature. War of Nature. Come on down.
One more. That one. That
There
one
it
that
is.
looks like a
I see
cell
it.
with a fish in it. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, we got it. Man, bro, I'm gonna learn by the end of the day. I'm telling you. What would you like me to play it, or do you just kind of want to talk over it?
13:30. If you go to that timestamp.
There we go. Say it out loud.
What's it called? Where it's
Yeah,
salamander.
that one. Yeah. It's a salamander.
This part kind of thing.
So it splits and splits and splits.
That spin, you know, I mean, you can see how it's
Yeah.
kind of
Turns into
how
a
the
black
shape
hole.
is working in a way. It's like all the cells just want to follow that route and direction and stuff like. If you
Yeah,
know if a
absolutely.
plant can do it for like
Right.
fruit, etc., then why couldn't it have done it for humans? You know, it's like the more advanced the plant, then that's where it, you know what I mean? It's like we've got it today.
Yeah.
We've got like advanced plants which do produce motile sperm, and that's what humans are motile. You know what I mean? The different, like I looked it up kind of thing. It's
Yeah, man. That was kind of what. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay. Look at this. Yeah, this is exactly what it was showing on the screen. Oh my goodness, this is a coincidence, bro. Like these little balls like this
Probably not a
were formed.
coincidence.
No, probably not. Right. Yeah, this is exactly what it looked like, bro. And when they broke open, the shell broke open, all this inner stuff would just pour out of these things in a toroidal motion. And he would actually put the circles like where they matched the phi ratios and stuff like that, you know, the thickness of the shells. Like, I mean, it was down to a science, but you know, natural science. Like he was trying to put into words what a creator does, like with these scales, you know. And when I seen when they were finding underground these like ancient, like huge perfect spheres, and they were like, you know, why? How would they? No one could figure it out. It was like, brother, when the world was forming, it looks exactly like what it looks like under a microscope. I'm sure. I mean, I wasn't there during creation, but there are telltale signs of just stuff like this. And this was on electron microscope scales, right? So imagine what this would be to an electron. You know what I mean? To scale, what kind of forces would have to, what kind of toroidal forces were at work forming this thing?
There's another aspect towards it, like in terms of like reincarnation. And like the variety of life that has been, like the giants and all these kind of things, then there's like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of different sizes of life. You compare a giant to an ant or a fly or, you know, something small in that kind of way. And then like, you know, they've all got the aspect of like the receptors for chakras, you know what I mean, in that kind of way. Like the body's functioned for it. So it's like you can enter one of those bodies very easily. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's like size is irrelevant in a way. So the same
Right.
with
Yeah.
cells. So like that one on screen
Yeah.
now, even that might have belonged to
Mhm.
some very large creature, but in terms of its
Yeah.
soul and the age of that soul and the lifetimes it's had, it might not be any different from anybody else.
Right. And we're looking, I have a feeling like we're looking back into a time that we were there, like in some form, right? And it's like
Yeah.
these morphogenic fields are storing this memory and this way of going through electronics, right? Like to see what someone else took a video of, like a long time ago. It's just weird. Like
It's,
we're
yep.
transmuting space and time, I guess you could call it, like to reevaluate what was once. Oh
We're
man,
attached
I
to
can't. That'd
like
be the
the
wrong way to
Akashic
say it.
records and stuff. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like that web of connectivity. That's what it all is in that way. So it's like in earlier series, and they were like looking at all the cymatic patterns in water. So how the sunlight shines through the water, and how that like refracts
Hmm.
the light and splits the light and all that kind of stuff. It's mimicking,
Yeah,
or it's finding patterns which are already in heaven. You know what I mean? So that's what the Tree of Life series is about. And it's like, you know, how lightning, you know what I mean? It takes these patterns, but it's not using the ocean waves. And the ocean waves, they have to find a matchup. So that's what that
yeah.
matchup is. You know, when we look into the heavens and stuff, we're not seeing it because it's imperceivable, you know, all that kind of thing.
Right.
So then, like, some of the other episodes that show like the river of the heavens in that kind of sense,
Hmm.
like the looms between the trees and all this kind of stuff. This river it kind of creates in a way, and all the spirits which are amongst it and stuff. And one of the topics which I kind of like covered is like how your thoughts aren't private. Whilst we're here, we've got the illusion that we're private, but in the same
Yeah,
sense, like the imperceivable light of the heavens, we can't see that. But in spirit form, it can be seen.
but it's playing
So it's
out.
like
Yeah.
every action that we do, you know what I mean? If somebody's going to be two faced or deceptive, you know what I mean, in them kind of senses, then
Hmm.
it's heard, it's known. It's like all your thoughts in spirit, they can hear it, you know what I mean, and stuff like. Um, and so like that collective consciousness of what spirit is, you know, on the whole, you know what I mean? It's kind of like how we are all connected in that way. It's like we're just in this illusion that we're disconnected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we don't realize that we are actually connected, and it's kind of like it's all connected in that way. So like you know your thoughts, emotions, internal decisions, and all these kind of things and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's all there. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's kind of heard in that kind of way. Like you know, should you deceive somebody? You know what I mean? And all of these kind of things. And
Right. Right.
you know, it's
Yeah. Your
all that
intuition,
planning and
it like kicks
calculating.
in. Hmm.
It's kind of like heard by spirit for you know uh, and in abundance because it's like everybody else that's amongst with spirit can hear it as well.
Yeah, dude, I
And
would
it gets
love
the
to.
attention,
Uh, you know,
you know, like drama.
uh,
Go on,
yeah, and
sorry.
yeah, well, part of what we were talking about with water and the frequencies going through it, right, and being able to see every nook and cranny, right, of what's really there. It's just water is showing us, and I don't know if you know much about the old cathedrals, right, and the type of glass they use. It was it's such purity, they say. But anyway, they also had the wave patterns, right? Like when you in the windows, the big old cathedral windows, they were showing us a vibration, right? So I do think when the glass and the shape there, when the sunlight went through it or the moonlight, it amplified those colors to be it gave off a certain message, right, to the body. Like we could stand in that light and as the colors went through our body, it was giving us a certain healing, I guess you would say. And so I think
Yeah,
that's the importance of doing these kind of experiments with cymatics and sonics, using through water can show us things that our eyes aren't even like our subconscious is picking up on it, but we don't see it, right away. And so I don't know if you know much about that with the with that kind of in the organs and of course with the bells. Can you speak on that a little bit, like how that inspires you or that you want to know more about? I guess.
that last bit.
Yeah,
What was
like on like how that's maybe impacted you, or with you kind of studying this stuff, and um like what inspires you, with this kind of studies, and with the tech that's still here, right, in living architecture that once was living better, more, um, but even with light, yeah, how light, and colors can be transformative to someone with their awakening, maybe.
Well, all of that in that sense of like looking at nature. Um, it helps clear that spiritual amnesia. You know what I mean? Because like you're repeating that information, like which is like it seems trivial because we look at it all the time, but in terms of repeating looking at it and then realizing
Mm.
like the spiritual significance of what it is, like seeing the sun from underwater, that is quite a special thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's sunlight and water. It's like the
Yeah.
beginning of the realm. When the realm was first made and it was just a glass dome and water, and it had the sunlight shining in, and then that's all the work. You know what I mean? That's like give the most spiritual foundation for this place. All the realms in that kind of sense. And so, that made it to special episodes. Like the middle series at the moment and stuff like that kind of thing. Tree of Life series is a series within the middle series.
Yeah.
So I did the Krishna episodes to like start it off, which they led to this as well and stuff kind of thing. There's like one of the episodes were about the Tree of Life thing, which kind of introduced it. But yeah, this image, what we're seeing with sunlight coming through water and stuff like that, made it to that first episode.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and doesn't water make the colors that much more like vivid and beautiful? It almost gives it that extra life, that extra thing that's inside of us, but we don't get to see it like, we can with all the organisms underwater, right? We can only see external out of our water body. And I mean, just imagine the light that if we had the perception to see it like on different spectrum wavelengths, how special that would be to see the whole picture, right? Instead of just what we're allowed to see right now. Imagine what fire would be coming off of everything.
Yeah, that's what the
Um,
tree of that's what it does. That the Tree of Life series. That's what it shows you. It shows you all that because, like I say, it's the imperceivable light. So
okay. Now, was that through a certain form of
you should do the what's it called? Like
you go ahead. Yeah. I like
it's not
hearing
the
what you're
what's it
saying
called?
about it.
The pattern Tree of Life.
Hmm.
Because like the pattern Tree of Life is one aspect, but it's the tree of space. It's like the
Yeah.
tree which birthed the flower, which is our realm. So it's like it's like the super tree. You know what I mean in that kind of
Mm.
sense. But what we're going to say is like really should like go through series like from the beginning and stuff like that. And you really do get to do it. You know what I mean? Like in a sense of like seeing it properly. You know what I mean and stuff like. Um, so like I don't know if you just did a couple of episodes a day or whatever, that kind of thing. You like to try and get through it and stuff. It's like almost 200 episodes, like 190 or something like that kind of
Uh-huh.
thing. But because it's quite good how it links, you know what I mean? In one sense, it's like the arc of discovery and all that kind of stuff. Like, so like it brings you into it and stuff like that. But it's like each episode is kind of like designed so you can watch that one episode and go back to the beginning and then like rewatch it with fresh eyes. It's like that one with face,
Yeah.
and it shows you how and why your face is shaped the way that it is. Have you seen that episode?
I haven't. I haven't.
Explaining
No,
it.
but that sounds interesting.
It's like at the beginning of that one, it shows you a lot of things like pareidolia, but then I show you like the answer later. So then, like, if you go back to the beginning to episode, you get to see all the pareidolia again, and like
Oh,
but now with the knowledge that since watching it, so then
yeah.
you
You
get to
know
see
how. Yeah, you know how
how it
wrong
forms and
that some of these people are with just saying it's only pareidolia. We know. Yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying because I've looked a lot into the let's say landscape, right? Of um yeah, of what we exactly what we would look like. It's not just a. I mean, I don't think it's only a thing of a miss look, I guess you could say. But there are a lot of things I could see why there would be pareidolia because everything is seems to be it grows from a central point down and almost looks it's almost like everything is made bipedal, right? Because it seems to be there's an opposing side to like a
bipedal.
left brain, right brain kind of thing, right? Like bipedal, like where if you drew a line down the middle of us, right, we would have two sides perfectly matching, like one
Yeah,
side
yeah,
looking
yeah.
exact same from the other. So that's kind of the idea of where some people say it's only pareidolia because, if you looked from if you look from one side and then you walked around it and looked from the other side, that if it matched, that it's pareidolia. But I think
Oh,
maybe it's
I
just because
showed it
there's
on
giants.
Vlad's
Um,
when we were on
but
Vlad's
go ahead.
episode. So you got some of it there on them Beatles. It's showing
Yeah,
you
I seen some.
pareidolia.
Yeah.
I showed you it when
Mhm.
I did it on Vlad's. When I went on Vlad's, and I showed that
Yes.
episode
Yeah.
on that
I
one.
remember some.
And so it showed you
Yeah.
the what's it called? Like because it's got the horizon, like you mentioned horizon. So
Mhm.
that's like how the sun sets and the sun rises, and you can see like where the pathway is and stuff kind of thing. It stretches
Mhm.
over the water to create the smile and stuff like when it's low in the
Right.
sky.
Uh-huh.
And so when you're laid down, you're in rest with the earth. You know what I mean? You become more
Mhm.
spiritual because you're no longer occupying your body in the same way. You're asleep, But
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you stood up in spirit and you're awake. And so it's like logical to how we sleep, you know what I mean? Like in that kind of sense. We sleep and we go back into the horizon,
Mm.
see the sunset, that red, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So that creates your face.
Oh, check that
It's one
one out.
aspect to
Right
it.
there.
The other there's a previous episode to it, and it's like uh, and it shows you how the water forms a face. So you've got all the rolls
Uh-huh.
and the waves and all that kind of stuff. Like, so it's a combination of them both. The water finds the pattern. So the pareidolia episode is the one showing like that's the spiritual matchup where it finds it in that kind of sense. Why the water says yes to that image.
Wow. Nice, man. You
There's
have a
some
way
other
of explaining
Christian
things.
episodes.
Great. Mhm.
This one for at the beginning of this episode is all the water, like looking through the sunlight and water. I
Uh-huh.
thought it was like that what's it called, that chakra video that you put on at the beginning earlier, not at the beginning. um, so because I feature them pictures a couple of times in first series. Um, and so, like I said, with these being special episodes, it was to revisit and show more of it in that kind of sense. Because kind of like I showed some
Mhm.
stuff or ideas from it and stuff that kind of thing, but then like this one made a lot more sense of it. So like the vibration and
Mhm.
frequency of the realm. So when you're seeing the water
Uh-huh.
lap over through the sunlight, you're seeing that vibrational frequency there. So you can see the patterns on the pine cone. And so you're getting that same
Right.
aspect of that in that kind of sense. But also the
Uh-huh.
suggestion that the sun does it even without the water. So like the chakra frequency in that kind of sense. But the entire realm is kind of creating that.
I want to just while you're speaking on it, I just wanted to look at this.
This one is more flat earthy. First episode, second episode, it does all the Origins of Life version. So, but first one, because we're like looking into distance, we're seeing into the imperceivable light, and we're seeing the horizon higher than it should be for a globe.
Right. Yes. Yes.
But on a
Right.
flat Earth, it works perfectly fine, and globers use this against us. But on this, we're seeing the actual height of the actual horizon. So all that in foreground is just purely reflection and
So
distortion and
this
all
up
that kind of stuff.
here is the real horizon, you mean? Right there, that
And
line?
no, that's where it
No?
disappears. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the very top line is the actual horizon.
Up here, yeah. Okay, so
No, no,
this
no,
is
no.
where it's
Further up,
mirror.
further up,
It's a mirror.
further up, further up.
Oh, this
That
line.
line. That's the actual horizon. The sun's sinking into that, and then because you've got all your distortion and waves and all that kind of stuff, and then there's a smooth area, and that's where you're getting your reflection again. Sometimes it depends on water.
Okay.
You see, if it were all
Yeah.
smooth, it'd all be reflected. But because it's so far
Uh,
away, and all the light's so condensed for all the different imagery of water moving and stuff, that kind of thing, it all
mhm.
blends into one, so you can't see it. I think on some days
Yeah.
you would be able to. It depends on conditions and such.
So even this top line here, no, well, not the top, but like this little area here, this is really just from the atmosphere making it
Squish.
bigger than it is, right? It's because it's so dense at the bottom, right? So the
Well,
real
it's zoomed
sun
in.
probably,
But
yeah, is zoomed in. So it might not even be bigger than like right in here or something. You know what I mean? Like
no, I
it's
think
something.
the size isn't that really far off in terms of like the width. I think the width is all right.
Yeah.
Like when you're
Okay.
watching them
Okay.
on time lapse and stuff like that, it'll come down and it won't really change width. It'll still be a circle until it
Gotcha.
squashes into horizon. But it's like it squashes because of atmosphere. You know what I mean? It's gonna like for one side of it, other side of it is because it's so far away. You see width there. You see, you can see, but you can see a ship
So
there as
would
well.
this be your right? Right. Yeah.
That
It's
ship's
going right through it.
the ship's in
It's
foreground
dividing it.
in many respects. There's that seagull in the
Yeah.
middle of the sun as well. That seagull, so you
Yeah.
can see
That's
that's in the
beautiful.
background before
Yeah.
that ship, but then even beyond
And
that ship, so like about halfway up the sun, that
mhm.
may be because there's all that distortion below it, and some of that could be
Yeah.
atmosphere dragging it down, but at the same time,
Yeah. It looks as if it's drooping. It just droops right there, but yeah, like it's really it should be like disconnecting somewhere here, right?
I think it's
Like the
higher is
real
where
the
the
rest of
oh, so that's my finger. I thought it was your finger
yeah.
then. But, yeah, it's higher than there, I think.
Wow. It's amazing, man, what Glovers have been able to get away with as far as, you know, having their own definitions to what, that it's being or what they want to convey to the person studying their doctrine, right? And it's unfortunate, man, because, if we only could, get the points across about what the atmosphere does, right, from, where it's actually at to the observer, and let them know what all is possible that light can do and what the atmosphere does. They use it against us, basically. Um, Science, quote unquote.
Yeah.
This is a great picture, man. I like this right here. We'll let it play on through a minute. Oh, and there's a what do they call that where it's floating in there? Phantom Morgana,
Yeah.
where it looks as if it's floating. This right here.
Oh no. That's a superior mirage. Your Fata Morgana, what
Superior. Okay.
previous image?
Hmm.
It's like all the distortion and all that kind of stuff, like right in edge. So like if you were
Yeah.
there in person, it'd look a little like glittery or like mirrory. You know, like when you stood on a
Hmm.
what's it called, a desert, and you can see like the
Yeah.
mirage there. So,
Yeah, and there's some good ones on when you got a camera down low to like an asphalt on a summer day. It can give you that wavy, you know, super wavy look.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like right in there would
Route
be
66 and stuff like that kind of thing. You know, you got all the roads on there and stuff like.
uh yeah, I like stuff like this. But man, we're gonna have to we'll have to get together and do a full show, man, and because I really want to start doing more things now where I'll be up. Like I'm in bed most of the time doing these when I'm at night, when I'm kind of relaxed and don't have much going on. And I do most of my research during the day when uh, I'm not really making as much content. But yeah, I'd like to start dedicating some time to, people's work that I appreciate, and I'll be up in my back room in my studio more often to where I can actually be on camera, put my my goofy looking self out there. But yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on. And is there anything you'd like to kind of get out there to the people, or to anyone that's interested in finding your work and stuff?
Um, there's only
Oh
those
yeah,
two
oh
watching.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's two of us still watching. All right, we're famous, brother.
uh,
um,
I don't
yeah,
know,
I did.
like starting from the beginning, you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't take long to get through when
Yeah,
you're like, like you go for it in that kind of sense. It's like even first series is still like quite ahead in a lot of senses, and it's not the propaganda which is being thrown around, all that kind of stuff. Like,
mhm,
um, and there were other aspects to it. Like if you like watched it in order, and like once you get to, I suppose, like there's like waves of enlightenment. You know what I mean? So like you go through the pathway, and then like each because we're looking at nature all the time. You know what I mean? So all that's
mhm.
kind of like all part of uh the waking up process. And so as you come to truth, you're being woken up at the same time in a spiritual way. You know what I mean? And stuff like I said,
Yeah,
like once you come back
absolutely.
and watch an episode from the beginning again, it's the same as from series. So you watch a series from the beginning again, or the entire series from the beginning again, and you get to see it all
Right.
with new eyes. So there's like every time I do a new series, it's kind of like refreshing everything. So it's like, if somebody had already watched all the series like 3 times after series 3, then like by series 4, then it would have been like, fresh eyes again from the beginning, or whatever and stuff
Yeah.
like.
And I
It's
recommend like stuff. I mean, just some of your work in particular, like certain shows, like you say, it seems to um, tap into more of the spiritual side, right? And
mm,
what's always helped me, I mean, just in my waking up process was, sure, you got your conspiracy stuff and you got the flat Earth, movement, and but man, there's something about when you're into learning about nature and you're partaking in nature, like, maybe, Cheech and Chong kind of moment or whatever. It seems to hit you harder, right? It seems to, you're like, oh shit, this is inside me. These things bind to my receptors, and like, you're like, oh snap, bro, like, and then it kind of, it taps on a different side of you, I guess you could say, and that
cannabis
helps.
is, I think cannabis is good.
That helped me more than anything, those kind of episodes. So yeah, like cheat creation and the origins of life videos. Oh man, I would recommend people, yeah, have fun while learning. It can be educational and fun, right? um, But no, I just wanted to say before we, get to closing out here in a second. Yeah, this guy here, man, he reads off a teleprompter, right? And where he's gotten his knowledge from, brother, I'm gonna say this, is from people like yourself, and just reading from
He's done
everyone
it for
else.
years. He's
Yeah,
stolen loads of stuff from me for years. So that's why I stopped going on panels as such and focused on making me work on my channel.
right.
Because it's enough, you know what I mean? Because I'm
Hmm.
like pushed out of movement in many respects and stuff like you know what I mean? I'm not welcome on their channel whilst they're stealing my work, am I? You know what I mean and stuff. So they're getting
Yeah.
like a lot of attention in that kind of sense, whilst mine's being hidden. You know what I mean? By as it
Hmm.
seems. So no,
Yeah,
they've I've
it's
completely lost
unfortunate,
respect for
brother.
them.
Yeah,
They're
me
not
too. Me
truthers.
too. And I don't like when um also, these people expect, because we don't have the same funds as them or the same affiliations with, people in different places, right? In places that I don't want to be associated with, absolutely. But,
That'll be one thing. They
when
should still be annoying, but I don't even think it's that. I think they're actors.
oh
Like
yeah,
lead the opposition by what's
and
that
then
expression called
don't
now?
bring anybody along with them when after they take their ideas and run with them.
No,
Yeah.
you rule the opponent by leading them. You know what I mean? That battle tactic.
Hmm.
So like, whilst we're cheering them on, they're like the opposition. They're not.
Right,
They're not
right.
the. It's like we might as well be like just going out along with like the next psyop basically. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like cheering it on and not realizing that we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah. Well, bro, I'd like to find different ways, if possible, to start rebuilding some of our original like playlists and stuff like that people we've learned from, and try to go back and reassess who's who now. You know what I mean? Because um sure, I think I do believe in a flat realm and the firmament and stuff like that, but I don't think that we're trapped like the globe and like the ice wall has made it out to be. I really don't. Like, I do think there's been some cataclysms and some things go wrong with um
Yeah,
let's say energy extraction and expulsion, like wars and decimation of places. But there's a new I feel like there's
it's
a new spiritual movement that hopefully can start rebuilding on these ideas and find a way to get our place back, right?
like I showed you on service. This is one of the spiritual realms of heaven, and so it's like it's not meant to be a hell. It's just that those which are kind of like leading it, those which are kind of like behind all the scenes and all that kind of stuff, the Illuminati, etc. They make it look like that. They want you to feel that that's what it's like. They want you to believe that this is hell. And a lot of people do. You know what I mean? That propaganda kind of works. I mean, there's a lot of suffering. So, logic says that, that kind of makes sense. But it's not supposed to be like that. It's definitely not supposed to be like that. You know what I mean? If we had good food, if we could afford to go on holiday and all these kind of things, like years ago, there were a lot of stuff that we could have, even though we were still run by these people and stuff. But in terms of like financially, I could have come on holiday to America like every year. You know what I mean? We how things used to cost years ago and stuff like it. And I could have met loads of people, like in Truth Movement and stuff. And like you imagine
Yeah,
like the growth of it in that kind of sense. Whereas really, it's like
right.
most people that are struggling to pay the bills. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
how are they going to do
yeah.
anything? You know
That's
what
a
I mean?
good
In that
point.
stuff.
Well,
How are they going to
I
afford a camera and
well,
stuff and etc.
you're right. Yeah, and people that want to be in front of a camera and like, scream from the rooftops about, you know, where, what they've discovered, let's say, quote unquote, and then turn around and start a t-shirt shop and on the back of people like you, right? Um, to make a dollar to then build themselves up to be, spokes leaders and spokespeople for this community, right? In particular, flat Earth community. Not so much whole um, the whole the whole truther movement, but these people try to make themselves out to be somebody, right? That's for the people, but then you turn around and get emails like I exposed, right, of certain people that are talking behind everybody else's backs as if we're nobody, right? But yet you live off of our research, right? And then you read the teleprompter and you do a whatever kind of show, bro. I'm not about the showboat. I want people that are honest and really wanting to push people to be
These
better
people
people
exploit everybody.
for each other. Yes,
It's like you look at
exploitation, bro, at its best.
the
And one thing, FE Nation, I
the
don't care if Dave's
dedication
got $3 million. He's
past 11
not.
years or so. Like the
Yeah,
amount of people which have come and put so much dedication into this, right?
yeah,
And it's like, oh, those people just exploit it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that's the thing which is really wrong. You know what I mean? They've got nothing to offer to anybody. They've only got to take from people. That's all they've got. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that's not good enough. You know what I mean? Not at all. I don't. Yeah, I can't stand them. Like fake
and
truthers and stuff.
I haven't seen much, like I say, praise for um you know um yeah, Dave's got a selection of people that he promos. FE Nation, I got you, brother. But I mean, I'm not trying to just shit on Dave. I'm trying to say that there are things that and subjects that he probably shouldn't be the spokesperson of. He should stick with flat Earth, right? Instead of trying to go out of his way to, live off the backs of all of us. I'm nobody. I'm nobody, bro. I don't want to be anybody. I'm just here to say, watch out for the vipers. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But I better
Yeah.
end it there. Let's go. I better leave it there, brother, before it gets heated. Too heated. But yeah, dude, yeah, love to get up and do another show, man. If you're up for it, just let me know.
Yeah, I'll come on sometime. Yeah. Like you say, it's late when you're on, so like I say, it's like 5 a.m. at the moment and stuff like that kind of thing. Like so, often you're on at
Yeah,
like 4 in the morning and stuff like that kind of thing. So
yeah,
chances are I must
yeah.
an hour and stuff. But
Mhm.
it's just how time flows and stuff like that kind of thing. Because I am up at that time sometimes as well, like today.
Yeah, I
But
stayed up super late last night, yeah, doing this research, but I'm probably going to do a few readings this week, and then Sunday I want to put y'all guys on. I'll tell you what, I'll drop the link here on the way out, and I'll just go ahead and pull it up here. If you can just give me 1 second, I'm gonna mute up, and then I'm going to grab that the video I was watching earlier. I think you guys will love it, man. But yeah, just give me 1 second.
start this documentary by making a few claims that I will back up with undeniable evidence. I've located lands that have been hidden from us, multiple massive land masses that are beyond our known world. Fully chartered, and I have the means to set sail in multiple vessels that I own once I've secured crews, including a second captain. Let me show you what no one else is capable of. If watched in full context, what I've got to show you will blow your mind repeatedly, including that the hidden lands that surround us are fully built out with old world architecture and infrastructure, just like how we see all around us. That the flat earth model is purposely incorrect and designed to deceive you. There is no ice wall, and I'll prove it. Everything you think you know about Tartaria is wrong. I figured out the entirety of the last great reset of humanity worldwide, and it only ended in 1860.
All right, so as you can see, some big claims being made, right? Um, yeah, dude. I mean, it's something I really want to go over on Sunday, but if you would like, guys, I'll drop it in here for you all to look at in between now and Sunday, and maybe we can get together and figure something out with this this great researcher. I can say he's not. I can't say he's like big in the flat Earth community because I don't know him from that, right? So
Oh, John Farr.
I'm very curious though. But go ahead.
Are you talking about John Farr?
Yeah, I know of him, but I don't know him that well. Yeah, but is that who you know him as? The guy there on the documentary?
Uh,
He's a captain.
yeah, yeah. Is
Okay.
it's been around for years. I've not seen
Really?
that documentary though.
Oh man, you would let me go
I'm
back
sucked in,
over
I'm
your
sure.
that way you can get the name of it. Here we go. I'll stay on my mic, but yeah, that's the name of his ship is Seorsa, right? No, John Thor. No. John Thor, he's the man that's putting him out here. This guy here, Captain Gunn, 82 is his name. So yeah, Seorsa is the name of his vessel, and he is working on a second vessel, but he wants to basically go take a crew of 10 to 11 people, he says, that can fit on his ship and, all go out to, let's just say, see some new places, you know, and maybe everything will go well, but man, when you guys see this documentary, it's gonna blow your mind, bro. It's gonna blow your mind because it did mine, and it takes a little bit to blow my mind. I want to try to use AI to recreate because he's looking for people that can um, merge some maps, and the concepts of the key that, because every map needs a key, right? So to his map that needs to be compiled, right? And I want to try to do that for him. But the key, and get this, the key, the legend is the changing of the contrast of the moon map to show you where these 12 uh, 12 key places of the star placement over the land itself, and that's how he navigates, right? Is with That's his legend, so he claims. And I don't have many people listening. I never do. I'm a small fish on the big scale, but I hope that this is going to bring some attention to this guy's mission, right? In my small way that I'm helping now. And then Sunday, I'm going to have JJ and Vlad on, for my first episode in my little studio in the back room here, and I'm excited for that because Vlad, he was a sailor, you know, and he was intel for a little while. So he's about the right age of what the guy's looking for, and you know, uh, he's had oceanic experience out on the ocean. So maybe he'll be able to benefit somehow. Who knows? But yeah, man, I'm going to end it there, Mr. Lev Kung, but thank you for being a guest on here, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, nice one.
Right.
I'll get some food and stuff, and yeah, I'll catch you in a bit.
All right, brother. Yeah, I'll be on it. I'll be on probably a couple more times this week before Sunday, but yeah, Sunday at 6. You're welcome to go join the panel as well. So hopefully
Alright,
we'll catch you then, brother.
yeah. Yeah, nice one. I'll catch you in a bit.
All right, man. Yes, sir.
Nice one.
Take care.
Ciao, Alan. Bye.
All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a productive, I believe, a productive podcast today. I'm trying to figure out where I want to leave you guys with. What I always want to have some words of wisdom, some words of hope, some words of what can what can we do as a community, to try and figure this thing out one day at a time, and how to take back, well, I would say the physical part of what what we live on. Try to take back at least part of the land to where we can live without intrusion in our lives, right? And not have to pay these slave taxes and work these slave hours, for these slave companies, and just try to get back to nature, and get back to what we feel is right inside, and how we can try and connect that life, that we yearn for again, with our spiritual side, and you know, and uh, and try to just be better people without these demonic entities, and these energies coming into our lives, ruining it, for the next generation to come, and the generation after that. So I'll just leave you with this. Keep your hopes up. Don't let, you know, just because people are pointing out the bad things in life. I don't think most people point out these things to bring it into your lives, or make it manifest, because a lot of us don't live directly in the path of harm, right? So I think these people, a lot of these people do it for the right reasons. To try to just open your eyes, so we're not content with living in this dark period, and try to bring back the light. And so just keep your hope up, keep your family close, talk to your family, talk to your friends, open up, that side of you that you might feel vulnerable to, and just lay it all out there for people, because you got good people listening. And I think you got good people trying. But some people are just doing it for the money, and those are the people to watch out for. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Much love, you guys. I'll say a small prayer, and for those of you out there that like to accept prayer. Father, please just keep people's eyes open to what's going on around them, so they can start to recognize that not everything is on the up and up. Father, just give them hope. Give them the courage to face these kind of things, and the will to carry it out. Father, I just ask these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a blessed one. This is the host of the most, saying good night, and good vibes.